There are many different ways to tell a mystery story, because, let's be honest, there are many different ways to solve a mystery. From hard science to pure intuition, mystery stories are kept interesting by how different writers tackle different cases. The American TV show Bones, true to its name, primarily focuses on the physical evidence found on the body of the victim. The forensic scientists that make up a majority of the principal cast look for evidence carved into the bones and flesh themselves, and also the particulates and other chemical components found on and within as well. And a lot of the joy of that show is piecing together where, how, and why, almost entirely based on this weird little marking on this one particular bone. In contrast, the manga Detective Conan, sometimes known as Case Closed here in the West, often relies heavily on the logistics of a case. Conan and all his fellow detectives are often at the scene of the crime as the crime is occurring, and so a lot of the mystery relies on who was where when, and often how someone who looks like they couldn't have done it actually did. Though not always, the motive of the killer often becomes second to how they pulled it off, though the methods that mangaka Gosho Aoyama uses are often incredibly mind-blowing. And of course, I wasn't getting out of this without mentioning my sweet precious Higurashi. It and its sequel Umineko are much more concerned with the who and the why parts of the mystery than the how. With Umineko in particular, as soon as you know who the mastermind is and why they're committing these murders, it becomes much easier to figure out how they pulled it off. Same with Higurashi and its mastermind, though that story does a much more thorough job of filling in the blanks for you. This essentially creates a reverse mystery where it only becomes possible to figure out the mystery once you've gotten to the heart of the case. I could go on and on endlessly about different mystery stories and what aspects of the mystery genre their creators are most concerned with, but we're here today to discuss Ace Attorney. I bring up the method of mystery solving in this introduction because Ace Attorney features one of the more unique methodologies of solving mysteries. While the physical evidence is still important, because Ace Attorney stars a defense lawyer instead of a detective, the tricks and turns in the mysteries presented are incredibly focused on the human element, especially as the series goes on. Because your method of solving the case isn't to go around collecting clues and then using them to put the pieces together. No, you have to use the roundabout method of finding the clues, then using that evidence in order to get your witnesses to admit they're lying. And then once you do, you have to use more evidence to figure out why. Half of the evidence you often get are statements from various people who witnessed elements of the crime or other important documents. The specifics of wording and how witnesses say things is incredibly important to the mystery-solving ethos of the game, and at first, it's sometimes a little hard to wrap your head around. But never fear, today I am here to spoil everything! Somewhat antithetical to the genre, I know. Yet by pulling this story's guts out, we'll surely see what makes it tick, right? Can you tell I just finished reading Umineko a few months ago? And now that all the Higurashi fans are sobbing, my name is Hedgehog, welcome back to this nonsense, and this is Ace Attorney. Before we continue, it is of course the moment you have all been waiting for, Hedgehog's soapbox moment. If you would be so kind, I have a Patreon. I am not going to tell you how much work I put into these videos or how grueling of a task it is to make them or, well, shit, just go to the Patreon. There's a lot of fun benefits and your support gets me ever closer to having some help editing these monsters. If you're looking for something to keep you entertained while you wait for the next one, because I know all any of you do every day is repeatedly refresh your YouTube page hoping beyond hope that I've finally uploaded again, I write audio dramas. And unlike these videos, they come out at a frankly ludicrous pace because I am a freak. Last time I'm going to mention it in one of these videos, but I am also technically an award-winning author, so, can't be that bad. But if there's one thing you do after you've watched this video, please go check out the links of everyone who helped to make it. I may be the face, but there's a whole host of editors, composers, and voice actors who put a hell of a lot of work into this video as well, and I sincerely couldn't have made it without their assistance. Also, they're so fucking talented, Jesus Christ. Finally, because no one can ever fucking read, this is the second video in my Ace Attorney series. Go watch the first one first. Maybe. Alright, now that I've thoroughly broken the tone in half, let's try to reel you back in. If the first two chapters of Ace Attorney were clever and quirky, the last two reach a whole other level. I struggle with the solutions to these chapters more than almost any other in the series, so grab your smoking pipe and your deerstalkers and let's solve some goddamn mysteries.
Gah, you have disgraced me for the last time, Steel Samurai. The pale moon in the sky cries for your blood.
The moon. No, it is you who should gaze upon the moon, for it will be the last moon you ever see. See you in hell, evil magistrate. Whoa!
Rot! See you in hell, evil magistrate.
Whoa! Stop waving that broom around.
As you might be able to tell, there hasn't been a lot to do around the Wright & Co. law offices these past few weeks. Maya has so much time that she's become addicted to this kids cartoon called The Steel Samurai, which Wright hasn't heard of, but is apparently very popular with the nation's elementary schoolers. Like I mentioned last time, the localizers of the original trilogy had grand ambitions of changing the setting to Los Angeles, but here's where we're already seeing some problems. They've toned down the wording a bit, but The Steel Samurai is clearly supposed to be a tokusatsu henshin series like Super Sentai or Ultraman. For those who are too American for that shit, Power Rangers. I guess. It's Power Rangers. Regardless, now that the show's over, that means it's time to close up the office. Though Mia's trial got a lot of press, it seems like none of that is translated into clients, don't I know it, and it's gotten to the point that Wright is even worried about how he's going to pay rent this month. But we all know, of course, that that's about to change.
Hello, this is Phoenix.
No, Nick! It's the Steel Samurai! The Steel Samurai got arrested!
Huh? You mean the guy on that show?
Yes! They're saying that the Steel Samurai killed a villain!
Wright is confused, but clearly Maya's trying to indicate that a real-life murder has just occurred. She's just being very weird about it. Wright shows up at the office to console Maya, and they see on TV that Will Powers, the Steel Samurai himself, has been arrested on the charge of murdering Jack Hammer, the actor behind his main villain on the show. Apparently, he was killed with the samurai spear, the titular samurai's primary weapon. It is, of course, right at that moment that the office gets a call, and guess who it is?
Let's go, Nick! They have the Steel Samurai down in detention!
So what?
So I've decided this will be our first case.
Maya is so pumped about this, though she is significantly less so when she sees the man who's actually behind the mask. Remember, kids, never meet your heroes.
Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but he definitely did it. Murder. At least once. Maybe twice.
This impression of him holds for maybe about 2 seconds. He seems to be under the assumption that they're disappointed.
No, it's okay. This is the real me. When I got the part of the Steel Samurai with that mask, I decided I would never show my face in public until the job was over. It's the kids, you know. I didn't want to wreck their dreams.
Nick!
What?
He didn't do it!
Maya has the consistency of a goldfish. But let's get down to it. Wright hasn't really had much of a chance to get his head around this case he's apparently signed himself up for.
It seems like it was only yesterday. Actually, it was only yesterday. The cast had come down to Global Studios for a run-through. We went through a few action sequences at 10 o'clock that morning. There was a rehearsal scheduled for 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But when 5 o'clock came around and the staff were gathering at the studio, the evil magistrate was found lying in a crumpled heap near the set. They took off his mask and discovered it was Jack Hammer. Dead!
Honestly, my favorite cases in the Ace Attorney series are always the random one they throw in the middle, the one that has nothing to do with the overarching plot. This is their opportunity to do something really zany that doesn't have to be constrained by everything surrounding the plot at the moment. And in their very first opportunity, they go with a tokusatsu film production. I really love these guys. And somehow, future games have even weirder settings. Anyway, it turns out that Powers got arrested primarily, it seems, because of his non-existent alibi. While the crime was being committed, he was taking a nap in his dressing room. So we're off to a brilliant start. Powers draws them a map to Global Studios, and Phoenix and Maya head out.
I'm willing to bet $10 she asks for autographs.
Maya is stoked to be at the studio where they make her favorite show, but that enthusiasm is about to be quickly dampened.
Hey! You there! You want in, you gotta go through me!
Here she is! Finally! The queen herself! My favorite character in this game and the bane of Allimiece's existence! Apparently, she's the security lady, and it's her job to keep gawkers out. She takes her job very seriously.
Gawkers, sightseers, tourists. I know the type. You heard about the incident and came to snoop around. Used today. Something horrible happens and all you can think of is sightseeing. Wasting your time in a place like this. Don't you have jobs you should be doing? Or do lawyers not work like the rest of us? Maybe I should become a lawyer too. Sounds like a life of ease. To me, no work, just loafing around all day as you please. Well, when I was young, things were a mite different, mind you. We didn't prance around in hippie clothes. What other use coming to these days? My own son hasn't called in.
Well, I think we all know who she voted for in the 2024 election.
Nick? Will I grow up to be like her? Please say no.
Of course, as much as she disapproves of these youths, it's quite easy for Wright to get her talking. According to her, not only has Global Studios seen better days, but the victim, Jack Hammer, has as well. He used to be a star, but now he's reduced to playing villains because of some unspecified accident that happened 5 years ago. I never understand this line. Villains are so much more fun to play than heroes. Like, what are you talking about? Oldbag is absolutely certain that Will Powers is the murderer.
I was standing right here yesterday, I was here from 1 in the afternoon to 5 when they found the body. Now the studio where the murder took place is to the left here. So if you want to go to the studio, you have to pass by me. Only one person went by here between 1 and 2:30 when the murder took place.
And she claims it was Powers, despite the fact that he claims to have been sleeping the whole time. Also, she's not going to let us in unless we have official permission, so we go back to Powers and make sure he really was sleeping that afternoon. He continues to claim he was. So, Oldbag finally lets us pass, but wants us to stay out of the employee area. Maya procures some maps of the studio and the security guard station, and away we go!
Those are 50 cents apiece, thank you.
Well, time to go, Nick.
50 cents!
They make it into the studios, only to be immediately halted in their tracks.
Hey, aren't you that murderer from the other day? Hey, pal, you know Prosecutor Edgeworth is all upset, and it's your fault. I saw him sipping tea and staring gloomily out the window.
You know, I used to wonder why people shipped Gumshoe and Edgeworth together so hard, but I don't question it anymore. But hey, this is great! Even if he's technically working for the other side, we can always try to wring some info out of him. Right, pal?
Hey, you can't just go around saying pal like that. That's my endearing character trait.
Oops, sorry. Gumshoe reiterates what Oldbag saw, but also happens to mention that she gave him some very decisive evidence against Powers. It seems that there's a camera right on the welcome sign, looks like that one right there, and that it's set up to automatically take a picture every time someone passes under it. And if there really is a picture of Will Powers heading to the studio, then their goose is frankly fucking cooked.
Funny. For someone with hard proof, he doesn't look too happy.
Gumshoe is feeling confident enough, it seems. He gives Wright access to the entire studio, so now we can go look around. First stop on Maya's wacky studio tour is the employee area. There's a couple of things to find here. In later games, the investigation segments will be much more focused on the puzzles of talking to people, but here in the first game, we've still got quite a bit of point-and-click adventure influence to work through, which for a first-time player definitely makes it a bit confusing as to when you're supposed to be looking around or talking to people. Later games get much better at signposting and making it obvious what you're supposed to be looking for when you are, but for now, we'll just have to poke around the old-fashioned way. There's a couple of things to take note of back here. The T-bone steak from lunch that day is still laying out. And of course, the obvious.
The metal grate on the crane here has been taken off. That's a pretty big crane. A kid could fit through there, I bet.
Oddly specific wording, Phoenix, but okay. They head into Powers' dressing room, but Maya seems to have other priorities to finding evidence. She immediately starts digging in his bag and finds a keycard to Studio 1. Nice.
I wonder what else is inside Power's bag.
My partner, the thief in training.
So it looks like Studio 1, the scene of the crime, is our next stop. Again, it's time to look around some more. We have some very important things to examine.
Look, a ladder.
That's a step ladder.
So, what's the difference? You need to stop judging things based on narrow-minded cultural assumptions, Nick.
I would like to point out that this game was made in 2001. Okay. Anyway, after fucking with the cameras, even though Phoenix told her not to, they get the attention of an assistant named Penny Nichols. I think these names are getting stupider and stupider. Turns out she was there yesterday, and while she did see Jack Hammer head off to Studio 1 that afternoon, she didn't see Powers. She also mentioned that she thought she sensed someone else there at the studio that day, but we won't get anything better than that for the moment. Back to the security lady to ask her about it.
Who was it? Who told you that? Who dares question me?
So she continues to swear by what she saw. Enraged, she runs off, which is convenient for us because it means we can go snooping around her booth. Nick, I don't think evidence obtained this way is gonna hold up in court. Nick? Oh, well, it's too late. As it turns out, that picture of Will Powers she was talking about wasn't actually a picture of Will Powers. It's just a picture of someone wearing the samurai costume. Someone who is clearly not Will Powers. For now, that's all they can do here. We're going into the first day's trial with very little evidence, but let's hope we can discredit Oldbag's statements enough to get us an extension. Once again, we are thoroughly the underdog in this case. Even on a lower stakes case like this one, it still gets the blood pumping, because even if we have no personal investment, we like Powers. He is immediately likable, like a big old puppy dog, and we don't want to see this guy in prison, right? He wouldn't last a day. Who am I kidding? He'd have the inmates braiding each other's hair and making flower crowns by the end of the week.
The court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. Your opening statement, please.
The prosecution will show the court that at 2:30 p.m. on October 15th, the defendant, Mr. Will Powers, killed fellow actor Jack Hammer at Studio 1 of Global Studios. It is impossible for anyone else to have committed this heinous crime.
We'll see about that. Edgeworth, of course, immediately calls Gumshoe to the stand, and we are so happy to see him. Look, that's my boy about to explain the case in excruciating detail.
To understand this case, it's important to grasp the layout of the studio, see? This here is the employee area. The actors did a run-through of their action scenes during the morning here. This is the main gate to the studios. The security lady that works at the studios was here at 1 p.m. on that day. Past that are the studios. And here it is, Studio 1. This is the scene of the murder, where the body was found.
On that day, there were only 3 people present. Will Powers, Jack Hammer, and Penny Nichols. The body was discovered at 5 p.m., but the stated time of death was 2:30.
The samurai spear found lodged in the victim's chest was the murder weapon. That's the case, in brief.
Or, not so brief, Jesus Christ, my boy can speak. Sorry, hee-hoy. Edgeworth, of course, calls his first witness, and she is maybe a little too happy to be here.
My, aren't you a handsome fellow? I'm afraid I'm a bit flustered.
Your name, please.
Oh, dearie, no need for you to be embarrassed. Just call me Grandma.
I love the ongoing gag that Edgeworth can just never fucking wrangle these goddamn witnesses. Oh dear, oh no, there she goes.
Objection! Objection! I object to the witness's talkativeness.
My brother in Christ, she's your witness.
Objection sustained. The witness will refrain from rambling on the stand.
They quickly attempt to move on to the testimony, and our dear Oldbag is just rearing to go. This is really the moment, I think, that Ace Attorney figured out what it really wanted to be. Sure, we've seen some pretty quirky characters up till this point, but they always served a pretty important function in the story, despite their quirks. But here with Oldbag, we get a pure, unadulterated comedy character. Her entire purpose is to cause a ruckus and provide space for the other major characters to make jokes about her and at her expense. And that's in addition to just being absolutely hysterical all on her own. So we salute the Oldbag for being the first in a series of unforgettable side characters. Also, just look at the way they animate her. I mean, it's fucking Capcom, duh, but god, that sprite work is absolutely gorgeous. Inevitably, I'll be talking more about it in the future.
Perhaps we can get to the testimony.
Oh, sorry, Edgeworth, I'm the one holding us up now.
On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Poor old Hammer and the rest have been doing a run through there since the morning. I was at the main gate from then until 5. Now, the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? interesting to me because a certain man walked right by me at 2 p.m. It was Powers, that man right there, and he was heading towards the studio.
This time, at least, it's obvious what we have to do. It's time to present the photo on one of her last 2 statements.
Let me get this straight, Oldbag, Miss Oldbag. You've been saying since yesterday that you saw Mr. Powers, correct? But you're talking about the man in this photo, aren't you?
Of course! Didn't your mama teach you any sense, sonny? Anyone can plainly see that's Powers, right?
No, they can't. Well, I wonder.
The judge asks if she has any proof that it's actually Powers in the photo, and she seems really confident.
I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. That morning, during the run-through of the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. He broke one of the props. It was a big mess. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Now, look at that picture. You can see he's dragging his leg. See? Clear as day. That's how I knew it was Powers. Happy?
Wright wants to press her until she squeals. Yikes. And so we do. We get a couple of extra details out of her, including the fact that she was watching the run-through in the morning and that Powers apparently broke a prop, the samurai spear, which Oldbag fixed with duct tape. She also helped when Powers sprained his ankle.
You helped make it better.
I kissed it where it hurt.
Let's just skip over that part, shall we?
All of this seems like it's getting us nowhere. But the judge has a question. Where is this steel samurai costume right now? The one that Powers is wearing in the photo. Edgeworth claims they haven't found it yet. Interesting. Wright decides to bring us back to Earth.
We keep talking possibilities, but we have to agree that this photo shows the steel samurai. Nowhere in this photo can we see Mr. Will Powers.
Yet, as always, Edgeworth looks like he's gonna be able to wiggle his way out of this one. Let's see what else the windbag has to say.
The time of poor Hammer's death was at 2:30 p.m., true? The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers! No one else went there! If they had, I would have seen them!
Of course, on the surface, this means that Powers was the only one who could have done the deed. Or, at least, only the person in the samurai costume could have done it. However, Wright brings up an interesting point. The computer at the guard station records all of the security cam data.
That very computer printed out this photo. Note that on the back of the photo are printed the words October 15th, 2 p.m., photo 2.
Photo 2?
This evidence shows that not one, but 2 people went to the studio that day. Yet there is only data for one of the photos.
There is only one person who could have erased the first mysterious photo, the security lady herself.
Can the witness explain this to the court?
I don't understand these newfangled computer things. Edgy boy, help!
Huh? Believe me, I want to, but I don't know what this means either.
Some help you are. You're a whippersnapper too. Whippersnapper?
And of course, conveniently, just then, she happens to remember something.
Come to think of it, couldn't she think of that a little earlier? Might be a useful tactic to remember for use in my future career as a windbag.
Very true, Maya. We all end up as old windbags someday. So, as it turns out, the photo she erased contained the image of a fanboy, a kid in probably 2nd or 3rd grade. He got in through the loose grate and snuck into the studio. Of course, it seems ridiculous that an 8-year-old kid could have committed the murder, but he is now a person of interest. The court takes a recess to process this new information, and for Edgeworth and the judge to use the seesaw, and Wright asks Powers one more time that he was sure he was sleeping the whole afternoon. Of course he is! So who could be the steel samurai in the photo?
How should I know? The steel samurai costume was off in the corner of the dressing room. Anyone could have walked in and taken it, really.
This really isn't good. Powers is still the only likely suspect at this point. Wright has no choice here but to play for time in order to get another day's extension. Court is back in session and Edgeworth claims that nothing has changed. Powers is still the most likely suspect, but Wright disagrees. There is one other person who could have committed this crime.
It was the security lady, Wendy Oldbag.
Who?
The Steel Samurai was dragging his leg in this picture. That means whoever was in the suit knew about that morning's injury. Maybe because they had been watching the action scene run through.
This is one of my favorite elements of Ace Attorney's crime-solving ethos. Sometimes, in order to get to the truth, you have to act not as a detective, but true to form, as a lawyer. Sometimes you have to bluff and make blatantly false claims that could, maybe, possibly be true in order to get more time. Ultimately, the goal of each case is to discover the truth, but the pressure of the opposite side is always on you, and Wright has to put forth purposefully incorrect theories as well, putting pressure on the prosecution and confusing the issue on purpose. Of course, from what information we know at the moment, this could very well actually be the case. Oldbag has no alibi after all, and like Wright just said, she knew about Powers' injury, so could easily fake it to pin the blame on him.
I see. Excellent deductive reasoning, Mr. Wright.
Oh yeah, right here. Sherlock Holmes 2, baby.
But there's one problem. Isn't this the moment where Edgeworth has a sick comeback?
The prosecution has no meaningful objections at this time.
What? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, so you all think I did it? Is that it?
Edgy boy, don't just sit there. Do something.
When she receives no help from, Edgy boy, she first tries to pin the blame on the fanboy, but of course we shut that down pretty quick. He couldn't have gotten into Studio 1 to commit the crime because he didn't have a key card. The judge is about to suspend the court for the day in order to process this new information, when of course, the Oldbag does what an Oldbag does best. She spills
The motherfucking tea.
Wait a second. I'm not going to just sit here while you run off barking up the wrong tree. Me, I'm talking. Actually, if you must know, there's something I was told not to talk about.
Okay, so as it turns out, there was someone else at the studio that day that none of us knew about. Several someones, in fact. The director, producer, and a couple of the bigwigs were meeting at the only location we haven't been to yet. You can see it on the map right there, in fact. Studio 2. But they obviously weren't involved, so Oldbag was told to keep her mouth shut about it.
Your Honor, we have learned that there were others at Global Studios on the day in question. Yet, as we stand here, they have not been questioned. I hold that it is impossible to declare a verdict on the defendant, Mr. Powers.
The judge agrees, and the court is adjourned. Of course, out in the defendant's lobby, neither Wright, Maya, nor Powers think that Oldbag was actually responsible, but hey, sometimes putting the pressure on makes people talk. A good lesson to remember going forward. So now let's go back to the studio and see if we can't talk to these so-called bigwigs, huh? And so they do. Right now, Oldbag is in custody, so there's no one manning the guard station.
Look, she left her donuts. What? I wasn't going to eat them.
Allimiece is sobbing. Her torture is concluded. For now. So without any other sort of direction, let's try to head over to Studio 2. It's certainly something. It doesn't really look like it's being used to film anything at the moment, and the trailer on set looks pretty permanent. There's nobody here right now, and the trailer is locked, but there's a couple of things to note. Looks like they ate the same meal here as the employees did, but Maya comments that something feels odd about it. Well, I guess she does know her food. There's also an incinerator and a van in the corner.
Well, let's go for a drive.
Sure, if I had a license. But look, I have this.
Why are you showing me your attorney's badge, Nick?
Anyway, we're going to be doing a lot of schmoving back and forth between these few locations, so our next stop is back at the entrance. Apparently, Penny Nichols is filling in for Oldbag, and she does not look intimidating. We can ask her a few questions, and apparently, though they don't have a fanboy epidemic like Oldbag makes it out to be, there is this one kid that she's seen repeatedly sneak in here. We can also ask her about the director and such, and she comments that they really wanted the rest of the staff to keep quiet about their presence, which everyone was happy to do, considering that the producer in particular saved the studio from the brink of disaster. Don't know what that means, but hey, good to know. Next, we'll head to the dressing room and
WTF? Who are you dudes, Lamau?
That's what I want to know.
How can you not know the great Sal Manella? I make Talit shows. The Steel Samurai. Mine, RTFC.
Read the film credits.
Okay, yeah, so obviously this guy is Sal Manella, the principal director. Sal Manella? We're going... I mean, he does look gross. You know what? It makes sense. He talks out loud, exclusively in early 2000s leet speak. For all you youngins out there, that's how us dinosaurs used to speak to each other on the forums. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm not actually really old enough to have been around when that was a thing. I'm not that much of an old bag.
You know, on closer inspection, yeah, hot. Hey, did you do a lot of cosplay? 'Cause that costume rocks.
He immediately gets an idea for a brand new show, which he entitles Pink Princess Warrior of Little Old Tokyo. And surprisingly, Maya is less than enthused.
Why's it gotta be in Little Old Tokyo? Why can't it have a cool name like Neo Old Tokyo?
Maya, we really need to talk about cool.
Anyway, they're able to ask him some questions about the day of the murder relatively unmolested. As it turns out, he and the rest of the bigwigs were in a meeting from noon till after 4. Since the time of death was at 2:30, that gives him and everyone else there an alibi. The people who were there include him, the bigwigs, and the aforementioned producer. Seems like she's definitely someone we want to talk to since people keep hyping her up so much. Heading back to Studio 2, we hear a big crash from the trailer, but the door is still locked. So we head back to the entrance to see if we can finagle a key.
Aha! You again!
Yep, that lasted about all of 10 seconds. She's back! Oldbag just got back from having to try on a steel samurai costume to see how it fit her, and she is not happy about it.
Anyway, know this, whippersnapper. This old lady never forgets a slight or insult, and you won't get any information out of me. My lips are sealed.
You sure are talking a lot for someone with sealed lips.
Starting now. 1, 2, 3.
By the way, I forgot to mention, last time we were in the employee area, we untaped some cardboard that was blocking the sewer entrance, and now there's a small child running around said area unattended. He's quite a rude little squirt, but eventually Maya and Wright get him talking.
I'm Cody. Cody Hackins. Call me Kiddio again and I'll cut you down where you stand, evildoer.
You know, Hackins, he broke into the studios. I'm gonna kill myself now. Obviously, this kid is a big fan of the Steel Samurai, and he was also here the day of the murder.
He always... the Steel Samurai always wins. Always. Yeah, I saw him. I saw everything. But no way am I telling you losers.
And promptly, he fucks off, leaving Maya and Wright highly confuzzled in his wake. Also, if y'all thought you were getting out of this without having to hear me voice at least one small child, then you were sadly mistaken. We follow him back to the entrance, only to find it deserted, though we can hear Oldbag screaming in the distance, so clearly she's chasing him. And since the guard post is deserted, it's no problem if Maya just goes in and swipes the key to the trailer, right? God, she really is a kleptomaniac. Alright, so inside the trailer is a lady. I mean, I guess we expected this much, really.
Names?
Our names? We're WP's lawyers, and,
I see.
And who might you?
Divezquez, the producer.
So she's... oh boy, she's a bit of a brick wall. Wright tries his best to question her, bless his heart, but she's giving him nothing. Nothing, at least, until they bring her a script. She hands them something to give to Manella and sends them on their way.
I don't think I like her.
Don't cry. She'll take it as a sign of weakness.
So the rest of this investigation period is a bit of a fetch quest. This is something that the series thankfully kind of grows out of as it progresses, but this one at least is fairly harmless. I'll run through it real fast. We go back to Manella, but he lost the script, so we run to Studio 1 to find it in his director's chair. Back to Vasquez, and we were finally able to get a word in. However, we don't do much questioning before she interrupts us, asking if she is a suspect. When Maya waffles, she leads them back to right outside Studio 1.
You saw Mr. Monkey on the way here, correct?
Oh yeah, you mean that big fuck-off monkey head that literally no one has mentioned since we got here? That Mr. Monkey?
Its head fell over in the wind on the day of the murder. They didn't start moving the head out of the way until after 3 o'clock. It was 4 o'clock by the time the path was unblocked. Capiche? Everyone in this trailer was stuck here until the path was cleared. Stuck in this trailer. Stuck until after 4 o'clock. Hammer died at 2:30. Thus, none of us could have gone to Studio 1.
Okay, that was highly succinct and very convenient. She also has proof that it had fallen before 2:30. Just like in the first 2 chapters, it's also a clock. What a weird through line for this game. Its clock stopped at 2:15, meaning that must be when it fell. So what this means is that this is all just a dead end. Great. Wright heads back to the offices a little depressed. It's a little early for giving up, don't you think? That's right! Mia is back! And it certainly took her long enough. I so missed her her lovely personality. Even if the director and the producers are dead ends, Cody Hackins is certainly not. So with the power of Mia's breasts, we get the child to speak to us. I'm not kidding. So Phoenix tries to softball the kid into revealing some info.
The Steel Samurai is so cool. I think he's the bomb.
Unfortunately, though we got him to stay still, he's still not quite talking yet. So it's time for Fetch Quest Part 2! If we track down Penny again, it turns out she collects Steel Samurai trading cards. If we give her one of the cards Cody gave Mia earlier, what a little schmoozer, she'll give us an extra rare premium card, the last one that Cody needs. In fact, she's so excited to trade that she even starts sucking off ghosts! Horrifying! So we go back to Cody, and after a lot of pressing and flirting with Mia, he even gives her his album of photographs he took of the Steel Samurai in action from various live events. He tells us what he saw.
The Steel Samurai killed the bad guy. He used his samurai spear, just like always. One shot, one kill. It happened so fast, I got scared. I went home after that.
So what this means is that whoever was in the Steel Samurai costume is the one who committed the murder. But of course, now that everyone at Studio 2 has an alibi, there is still only one person who could have committed it. Will Powers. Wright and Mia decide that they should keep what Cody told them quiet and not call him to the stand. But unfortunately, it looks like that's not in the cards.
Not so fast, pal. I heard everything. This boy here is a key witness, and he's under police protection starting now. Come on, son. You've got a rendezvous with me down at the precinct.
So, this sucks. This is really bad. All right, it's time to go back in that courtroom and find something to work with. We can do it. There's not quickly mounting evidence against our client, right, guys? Right? Phoenix, your client is now practically a dead man walking. Perhaps that's why I feel particularly close to him.
This is no time for dead people jokes. Please.
We have to find something, Phoenix. Today. It's that, or lose the trial.
This isn't going to be easy.
The court comes to order, and the judge asks Edgeworth, as usual, to make his opening statement. Of course, today we're going over the evidence raised by the existence of more people at the studios than we previously thought. So to that end, Edgeworth calls Sal Manella to the stand.
Will the witness state his name and profession?
How rude can you get? You don't know me? I'm the director. I make the Steel Samurai, noob, raffle.
I think it's such a good touch that this running gag of Edgeworth not being able to get the names of his witnesses is also used as brilliant establishing moments to remind us as the audience what the general shtick of that particular character is before we get started. It's very elegant shorthand, mostly because it's been so cleverly hidden as a joke. There's a lot of moments like that in Ace Attorney. After Edgeworth glares daggers through him, Manella states his name, and it's time for him to testify about the events of the day.
I was at the studios from around 9 o'clock that morning. During the morning, I was doing, an action scene run-through. It took a lot more time than I thought it would. I hear that everyone else was at lunch in the employee area, but I had a meeting in the Studio 2 trailer, so I ended up skipping lunch. We were in the meeting until around 4 o'clock. During the meeting, well, I'm pretty sure no one left their chairs. That's about it.
Hold it! Sorry, I wanted to do just one. There's something odd here. Manella claims he didn't eat lunch, then why were there plates on the table right outside the Studio 2 trailer? Manella claims that he was embarrassed so he didn't mention it, but that he actually did have lunch, and he did unhinge his jaw like a snake to eat the whole thing in a short break.
A mental image I will carry with me to my grave.
So now that Manella admits there was a break, that gives us a small amount of time when the crime could have potentially been committed. So let's have him testify about that.
Yeah, we took a break. Raffle. But it was only 15 minutes. That's only 13 in base 12. Not enough time for someone to, say, commit a murder in Studio 1, lol. That's only just enough time to eat a T-bone steak, if you ask me.
Press him on the first statement, and Manella will reveal that the break was from about 2:30 to 2:45. That's the time of death, making a very obvious hole in both Manella and the producer's alibis. But for some reason, Edgeworth looks rather nonplussed.
Haven't we had enough of this pointless line of questioning? Your Honor, the testimony to this point has made one certain fact painfully clear. The people in the trailer had nothing to do with this murder.
Huh? But weren't we just in the process of cornering Manella? The break was right around the time of the murder, after all. Just one problem.
Surely you knew that from 2:15 to 4 o'clock, the path between the studios was blocked? Mrs. Monkey's head had fallen across the path.
It's actually Mr. Monkey, but Edgeworth has a point. And somehow I feel no desire to correct him.
I adore how absolutely brutal Phoenix can be. In his own head. Of course, this whole thing was a farce. Edgeworth put up Manella only to shut us down by reminding us of the impossibility that he or the producer committed the murder. He relieves Manella from the stand, and the judge gives his opinion. Obviously, none of the people in the trailer can be responsible.
Furthermore, with regard to the photo of the Steel Samurai, given the size of the costume, no one other than Mr. Powers could have worn it that day. All that is lacking is decisive evidence that he is the one who did it.
We are hanging by a goddamn thread here, and it's about to get much worse. Because Edgeworth declares that he does, in fact, have decisive evidence, and then he calls Cody Hackins to the stand. As they set up, everybody in the defendant's lobby is freaking out. Even Mia's losing her cool a little bit. But Mia Fey is the goddamn rock of this team, and she better start acting like it or the whole thing falls apart. What? That was not a personal statement on my own life. What are you talking about? Okay, Phoenix, this one's for the kids. Let's do it. They head back in, and after getting the poor kid a donut crate to stand on, Edgeworth warns both the judge and the defense that Cody is a kid, you guys, so be gentle, okay? We'll see if he himself sticks to that.
Will the witness state his name and grade in school? Witness!
What? Just because you're all grown up don't mean you could push me around.
Cool, so that lasted all of about 5 seconds. Before he testifies, the judge comments on his camera, which shouldn't be allowed in the courtroom. Apparently, he wouldn't agree to testify without it.
Wait, so you're saying you had to bargain terms with a kid and you lost?
Hey, I just got this new camera. Don't really know how to use it all that good yet, but I bring it with me wherever I go.
We add that juicy little detail to the court record, and let's hear what the kid has to say.
I wanted to see a Steel Samurai rehearsal just once. I found a map on the internet and went to the studios that day. I went through the woods off the path so that old lady wouldn't catch me. I got kind of lost on the way though, for about 30 minutes. When I came out by the studio, there was the Steel Samurai. It totally rocked. Right before my eyes, out came the bad guy. Of course, the Steel Samurai took him down. Pow! If I had my camera with me, that would have been the time for a shot, I tell ya.
One of my favorite types of witnesses are those that clearly didn't commit the murder, but are hiding something anyway. Because when the obvious reason for lying is that you actually did it, it's just a matter of getting to the bottom of it. But in a case like Cody's, there's the added element of not only what he's lying about, but why he's lying in the first place. It really provides an extra dimension to the proceedings and acts as a sort of mini character arc. So we obviously know what we're supposed to do here. Cody just stated earlier that he always keeps his camera with him, but for some reason he didn't have it that day?
Mr. Wright, a word with you.
Uh-oh. Was I putting the pressure on too much?
What is this digital camera contraption you were talking about?
Something, stupid boomer, something, I don't care. So as it turns out, Cody was in fact lying. Shocker, and he did have his camera that day, but he claims he was too busy watching the action to snap a shot.
The Steel Samurai, he goes for the bad guy. Wham! Then the bad guy stopped moving. He's so strong, the Steel Samurai rules.
Yeah, like the last one, something is very wrong about this. When pressed to be less vague, Cody only states that the Steel Samurai brought the bad guy to justice. How?
With the samurai kick, and a samurai punch, a samurai chop, a samurai slap, something like that.
Something's bothering me. Before, you said that you couldn't take your eyes off the action. Yet you missed the most important part.
Obviously, he means the killing blow. But as the judge says, how is it possible for Cody to have missed something so important? The answer is actually pretty simple.
There was only one reason why you would have looked away from the fight. And that was because you wanted to take a picture. But having just received the camera, you weren't used to using it yet. So you missed the climax of the fight, correct?
But for some reason, Cody's still acting a little shady. Mia wants him to testify again, and the court obliges.
Yeah, you're right, Pops. The Steel Samurai had just escaped from the clutches of the villain, so I held my camera up to take a picture, but the lens wouldn't open in time, so I missed it. That's all that happened. Yup.
But again, even if he missed the killing blow, he still wouldn't take a photo of his hero victorious? Why? Press him on the statement and he'll admit that, okay, maybe he did snap some pics, but he erased all of them. But we don't believe that for a second. Why? Because of the photo album he gave Mia the other day, his Path to Glory. Because like he stated earlier, he always snaps a pic when the Steel Samurai lands the final blow.
Mr. Wright, have you an explanation? If the Steel Samurai had just defeated his adversary, I certainly would expect to see a picture of it in this album.
Exactly my point, Your Honor. No. Wait. No way!
Phoenix, I think we've finally discovered the truth. And what a truth it is. You might be starting to figure it out yourself now. The answer is that he wouldn't. If the Steel Samurai had won, he wouldn't have erased those photos.
No way! No! It's impossible! The Steel Samurai never loses! He never loses to anyone! Ever!
Your Honor, the witness has revealed everything with his words. For Cody, it was inconceivable that the Steel Samurai could be defeated. However, Cody witnessed the impossible. He saw the Steel Samurai lose.
But of course he couldn't admit that. It would destroy everything he believed in. What a cleverly constructed twist! Hiding a major truth of the case behind a child who wanted to keep believing in his hero. Yet what this means is that it couldn't have been Will Powers in the Steel Samurai costume. Why? Because Cody just claimed that the Steel Samurai lost, and Will Powers wasn't the victim of this case. So, who could it have been?
Jack Hammer was the Steel Samurai.
The timeline works out perfectly. If you remember back to Oldbag's testimony, she said that Hammer must have gone to Studio 1 before she got there at 1. But why would he wait around at an empty studio for 3 hours? So he snuck into Powers' dressing room after he was asleep and grabbed the costume. This idea invigorates Cody, since if it was really the evil magistrate in the Steel Samurai's costume, then the Steel Samurai didn't lose after all. It turns out that he did save one picture, so let's see it.
Well, looking at this, it's still a little hard to say. I'm afraid that it could be anyone in that costume.
Phoenix agrees, but hold on. There's something weird about this photo. I'm sure you're probably seeing it too, yeah? Look at that photo once more. That's it, Phoenix. That photo is all the evidence you need to win this trial. So what part of this photo is odd? Well, if you look at the top right corner, you can see the sign telling us what studio we're outside of. But wait a second. It's not a 1 at all.
But that's impossible.
What's this about? Please explain so that I might be shocked along with the rest of the court.
God, he's such a himbo. We love him.
The defense makes the following claims. The scene of the crime was Studio 2. The person that the security guard, Miss Oldbag, saw was the victim, Mr. Jack Hammer. Mr. Hammer, for some reason, stole a Steel Samurai costume. Then he went to Studio 2.
Objection! This is madness. Jack Hammer is the victim. The victim! Why would he steal a Steel Samurai costume? Are you suggesting he did so to cover up the details of his own murder?
Edgeworth does have a point. Sure, we have a theory, but not a lot of evidence and no motive. Though the latter might be out of our grasp at the moment, the former certainly is not. Why? Well, We have a bottle labeled sleeping pills that we found in the employee area, remember? Of course, right now we have no idea if it was Hammer who administered them to Powers, but we can certainly find out. We'll allow the court to take the bottle and check for prints. That will take some time, so right now it looks like that's all we can do for the day.
Cody Hackins' testimony has revealed new possibilities in this case. In fact, things may have happened very differently than we previously thought. Mr. Wright, your homework is to find the answer to the following question. Why would Mr. Hammer steal the Steel Samurai costume? Also, who killed him, and why?
In addition, how many times can I make my voice actors say, steal the Steel Samurai costume?
Why would he steal a steel... Wow, God, that's hard.
Yes, I got my outtake!
You knew it. You banked on my dyslexia.
I did!
Damn it.
Damn it, Dragon! You threw it! You threw!
You fell right into the trap, you fool!
Jack Hammer snuck into the dressing room and stole the Steel Samurai.
Whoa! We got a second one!
Nice, man.
We got a second one!
I'm gonna go with the clip gone.
But alright, we have a new task, and it looks like, for the first time in this game, ever, that a trial is finally going our way. I really adore this case. In fact, I think it might be my favorite in the first game, specifically because it's so neatly constructed. Every bit of info you find leads you in one direction, and you think that there's only one way the events of the murder could have occurred, but just one little photo turns this entire case on its head, makes you feel like you've been like upside down the entire time, and you're finally seeing everything from the right angle. It's fantastic. We've only got a limited amount of time, though. Tomorrow will be the last day of the trial, whether we like it or not, so let's get hoofing back to the crime scene and find that most important element of mysteries, the human motive. At the very least, we can mostly speculate upon the how of the crime now, so today's investigation will be primarily dedicated to the why and who. Considering that we're now down to 2 suspects and one of them has already taken the stand, well, I'm sure you can probably figure out who the culprit is. But that, of course, leaves the question, why? What was the motive for killing Jack Hammer? And also, is his name just a random pun, or is it in reference to the size of his penis? Maya had to skedaddle back to the ghost realm or wherever she's normally chilling, so Maya's back. Our first step is to go back to Will Powers and ask him some questions about the various persons of interest. According to him, Jack Hammer suddenly stopped taking on big roles about 5 years ago. And apparently, Dee Vasquez has pretty unlimited power around the studio these days. Why is that?
Ever since she came on board, we've had nothing but hits. Global Studios was on its knees, but she picked it up and made it shine. Oh, and...
And what?
Nothing. Forget it. I've only heard rumors anyhow.
He doesn't elaborate, but let's try asking around and see if anyone will give us some more info.
The old windbag sure is quiet today. You know, this place is really peaceful like this. Nick, I think our guard's down. I bet we could even eat those donuts in the guard station. If we wanted.
You eat, you die.
In the end, we don't actually get much out of her, though she's really pissed that we accused Hammer yesterday. We can wander around for a little while, but eventually we'll make our way over to Studio 2, where Dee Vasquez is waiting outside. Great! Just the person we wanted to talk to.
Hey, Nick! It's Miss Vasquez! Hello? Hello? H-E-L-L-O!
I'm watching the clouds.
And that's all she has to say to us. You can ask her about everyone else, same as the others, but she won't really talk to you. However, there is one more important place we need to check out right now, and that's the employee area.
I guess. This is where you found that bottle of sleeping pills, right?
Yeah! No touching!
Eek!
Oh, sorry, pal. Didn't mean to frighten yous. I guess I could be a little dramatique at times. I suppose it's the actor in me.
Alright, enough shenanigans. What's this buffoon up to? He is apparently here to test if sleeping pills were in fact used on the plate that Powers ate off of. We watch as he runs the test and ding ding ding, winner winner chicken T-bone dinner. He also tells us that the fingerprint test on the bottle was a positive for Hammer and that Edgeworth is not happy.
He was in the waiting room, and he crushed this paper cup with hot coffee in it.
So this is not going to be fun for us. Finally, we can wander into the dressing room and run into Penny, who's apparently cleaning it out? But it looks like Powers is innocent. One problem, the publicity's bad either way, so they're shutting down the Steel Samurai. Maya is devastated. You could also ask her the same questions you've asked everyone else, but when you ask her about Hammer, you get an interesting answer. Apparently, there's a rumor that Vasquez has some dirt on him, that 5 years ago, some sort of accident happened at Studio 2. Seems like someone died, and it might potentially be Hammer's fault. Vasquez managed to hush it up, but that might be why he suddenly started taking on smaller roles at Global around that time. Penny also suggests we talk to Oldbag about this, and she was apparently there when it happened, so we'll do that.
Whippersnappers! Dredging up dirt on someone's past like that, and the recently departed no less. I suppose you think this is fun!
She demands some proof that it was Hammer in the suit, and, well, now that we have confirmation on both the sleeping pills and Powers' plate, we can show her either one to get her talking.
Okay, you win, I'll talk. I'm tired, see? Tired of holding it all in.
Miss Oldbag.
5 years ago, there was an accident. A fatal accident. What's worse, a paparazzi took a photo of it. And guess who made it all better? Vasquez. She has ties to the mafia. She silenced that paparazzi. After that, she became a force to be reckoned with here at the studio.
She hands us a photograph of the accident. Looks like Hammer was supposed to fight his opponent on top of the stairs, but accidentally pushed him down into the sharp flower bed instead. So it's time to do the obvious. We have everything we need, so let's confront the bad guy. We meet back up with Vasquez at Studio 2 and show her the photo.
Where did you get that?
Miss Vasquez, you hid this incident from the press, didn't you? And you used it to control Mr. Hammer.
The wind. It's gotten stronger, don't you think? The wind? Your conversation interests me. Let's talk about it more inside the trailer.
So, of course, we follow her. What else can we do? We confront her, and she claims that the accident 5 years ago was no accident, that Hammer did it on purpose.
Just think, would he have let me run his life for 5 years? Over a mere accident? And I ran him hard, believe you me.
Of course, Oldbag is a biased source, so we can't necessarily trust what she says, but now that she's handed us the only copy of that photo, Vasquez wants it. And when we won't give it to her?
Boys.
Who are they?
Professionals. They're good at erasing various things. What do you think? Would you like to be erased?
So, we'll take this as a confession to the crime, but one question remains. Why does she care so much about erasing that photo? We don't really get a chance to ask, as Maya and Wright are about to be erased themselves.
Hold it right there. I heard everything, pal. D. Vasquez, you're coming down to the precinct with me now.
Not bad. Very well. It appears this contest will be decided tomorrow then, in court. I'll be looking forward to it.
Maya thanks Gumshoe, but it ultimately looks like she's right. We are going to face her in court tomorrow, on the last day that's allotted for this case.
Well, Nick, it looks like we're getting close to the bottom of this.
And who's at the bottom? D. Vasquez.
Also, before we get to the courtroom, I realized that I forgot to mention why this case only gets 3 days. It's not just a game mechanic! With the current court system in place in this world, there were so many crimes that a 3-day maximum court time has been implemented. On the one hand, that means speedy trials, but on the other, wow, I'm sure a lot of falsely accused people are in prison right now. So we've got to do our best to make sure Will Powers isn't one of them.
Today will be the final day of this trial. I hope both the prosecution and the defense will be able to present decisive evidence.
The prosecution calls Miss D. Vasquez to the stand.
All right, we're just going right for the throat, huh?
Will the witness state her name and occupation?
Dee Vezquez. I'm a producer for Global Studios, as everyone here knows, yes? I dislike needless banter. If you must pontificate, do it when I'm not here.
Again, great establishing moment. She's one of the only characters thus far to give Edgeworth her name in her first line, but still manages to get a dig in on him. She's going to be slippery, I can tell. So let's see what she has to say.
I entered the trailer, a little before noon. The meeting began at 12 o'clock sharp. It ended at 4 o'clock. There was to be a rehearsal afterwards, so we went to Studio 1. I was fatigued, so I had Sal take me. At 2:30, we took a 15-minute break in the meeting. Sal and I ate T-bone steaks on the table in front of the trailer. We found Hammer's body later, when we all went to Studio 1. That's all.
Hold on, though. Before we even begin, the judge has a question. What does she mean when she says that she had Sal take her? She specifies he drove her in the van that's parked in the Studio 2 lot, and that's added to the court record. This puzzle is a bit tricky and only makes sense if you've been noticing this one small detail that none of the characters have directly commented on. On the one hand, it makes you feel very clever when you figure it out. On the other, in the world of video game abstraction, it does come off as a little vague. Regardless, we need to present the steak plates on her statement about eating steaks in front of the trailer. Why?
You claim you ate a T-bone steak. But I say you did not. Look at this.
It's a plate?
This plate was on the table in the employee area. As you can see, a large bone was left behind.
Mr. Wright, need I remind you it was a T-bone steak?
Exactly my point. Remember, if you will, Miss Vasquez and Mr. Manella ate at a table outside the trailer. Yet there were no bones left on the plates. The plates were bare.
Like I said, what a stupidly small detail, but oh boy, I feel clever for figuring it out. But why did she not leave a bone? Well, you can answer that she ate it if you really want.
Nick, are you sure? I mean, I love steak, but even I don't eat the bone.
But that would be silly. Obviously, she just didn't eat the steak in the first place. 15 minutes to eat an entire steak is kind of ridiculous in the first place, after all. She just threw the steaks into the incinerator to make it look like she'd eaten it, which leaves her with 15 minutes unaccounted for. During that time, she was bullying Sal Manella. Meeting with the Steel Samurai. And then killing him. Yeah, obviously.
What kind of stunt are you trying to pull, Wright?
Fascinating. And here I was worrying that today would be as boring as all the rest. Very well. Let us have a battle of wits, you and I.
Any day, Vasquez.
Her first challenge to him. If the samurai spear was the murder weapon, how could she, a woman who is so small and delicate, possibly have used it to murder Hammer? Well, obviously she couldn't, but of course that doesn't really matter.
The samurai spear was not the murder weapon.
I'm sure you've all been wondering why over and over and over the characters have been repeating the story about the rehearsal and how Powers broke the samurai spear. Because it's literally being held together by duct tape. How could it possibly be the murder weapon? So then what did she use? The answer may not surprise you. It's actually pretty obvious. Present the photo from the original accident, and you see there that the victim is very conveniently speared through the chest by one of the spikes alongside the flower bed. And if you'll recall, isn't one of the spikes in the same flower bed bent right now?
In other words, the victim, Mr. Hammer, he died in the same way he caused another man to die 5 years ago.
Very creative, Mr. Wright. I could use a man like you on my script writing staff.
You deny that what I say is true?
Most definitely, because there's just one problem with his little theory. The body was found at Studio 1. That is an immutable fact. Could she have killed him, changed the costume on the body, transported it, and set it up at Studio 1 all within 15 minutes? Well, yes, actually. There's a van, right there. Still, that's a bit of a tight stretch, unless she had some help.
Of course, Sal Manella has to have been a conspirator.
He is the one who helped her put the body in the van, transport it to Studio 1, and burn the Steel Samurai costume in the incinerator. So, Miss Vasquez, what do you have to say to that?
I lose. You win. It was fun.
I win? Wait. So you mean Dave Vasquez? So it was you. You killed Jackhammer.
Who can say? Mr. Wright, we just engaged in a battle of wits. You proved the possibility that I murdered Hammer. But that is only a possibility. Proof is another thing altogether.
What she says is true. Phoenix has a theory, but not much more than that. So what now? You've got a couple of options, but none of them lead to anything. She's about to get away with it.
Objection!
Yes, Mr. Edgeworth?
I was hoping I'd come up with a question while I was objecting, Your Honor. I didn't.
I see. Very well.
Objection! Your Honor, I request that the witness testify again.
Both Vasquez and the judge protest. Just what is Edgeworth doing? Hearing her testimony again will only hurt his case. Wright speculates that he realized she was guilty too.
But wasn't he the one that said he always gets a guilty verdict? After all that?
At the moment, we can only speculate on Edgeworth's emotions. For now, we've got another testimony to break apart.
I was with Sal and Oldbag, the security lady, when we found the body. I immediately called the police. Then, Powers showed up. I asked to be left out of the proceedings. I went back to the trailer to get my script and direction notes. Then, I went home.
Hold it, there's something real fishy about this testimony. We can sniff it out pretty immediately by just pressing her. Why would she have to go back to the trailer to get her script? Why didn't she bring it to the studio in the first place?
There was a murder after all. Who could think of rehearsing after that?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Phoenix, you dumbass! Why are you so fucking dumb? Is Mice Man rubbing off on you?
Your Honor, I have an objection to the witness's last statement. Think! Miss Vasquez said she didn't bring the script because there wouldn't be a rehearsal. Don't you see what that means? She would have had to know about the murder before going to Studio 1.
Thank you, Edgeworth, for being the only person in the room with more than 2 brain cells. That is not Dragon rubbing off on you. Wait, hold on. Edgeworth? Once is one thing, but why is he actively helping us? Even as the judge questions him, he dodges the issue and presses the witness, but she claims she has a perfectly good explanation.
I knew that Hammer was injured and couldn't do any action scenes, so I left them behind.
Okay, come on. Even Phoenix has got to have this one pinned.
You knew that Hammer was injured. Don't you think that's a little funny? I mean, it was the Steel Samurai who was injured. It was Will Powers.
Like we've stated innumerable times by now, Hammer in the Steel Samurai costume was imitating Powers' limp to make it seem like he was Powers. Vasquez claims that it was Manella who told her wrong, but he was right there when it happened, so he would obviously know that it was Powers who was injured. So why would she think Hammer had an injury? Because she saw him limping. Holy shit. He's got her. He's finally fucking...
Order! Order! I will have order!
Oh, sorry, Your Honor. It looks like Vasquez isn't entirely done yet. She heads at us from a different angle now. What motive does she have for killing Hammer? He was making her a lot of money after all. So we present the old photo once again. And there lies our motive. Hammer used to be a star, but now he has been reduced to playing villains on a kids program, all because Vasquez has him blackmailed. But isn't there something funny about this?
It almost seems as if it was Mr. Hammer who had killed D. Vasquez, not the other way around. What motive would Miss Vasquez have?
But that's not the point. She didn't need a motive. In fact, most likely, she had none.
Your Honor, Jack Hammer drugged Mr. Powers with sleeping pills. Jack Hammer snuck into the dressing room and stole the Steel Samurai costume. Then, Jack Hammer made his way to the trailer. And for what purpose, you ask? To kill D. Vasquez, who had so cruelly taken advantage of him all those years.
And once more, shout it to the back, we get one final glorious twist. This explains why Jack Hammer took all the actions he did. D. Vasquez killed him in self-defense and then covered it up to hide her crime. Again, this is the first truly great case in Ace Attorney. Partially, I think, because it isn't loaded down with all the baggage of the plot. It just gets to be a fun, complicated murder case, and it definitely stands on its own in that regard. Every new revelation was a gut punch, and the convolution of the case matches its criminal very well. D. Vasquez is a very different sort of villain than Red White last chapter. While he tried to appear confident but was really a buffoon, D. Vasquez is the sort of person he was trying to imitate. And meeting the real deal is fucking intimidating, especially when she's as reticent as Vasquez. It's hard to catch someone out on a lie when they don't say much in the first place, after all. Everything out of her mouth is a straight fact with no bluff, until it's not. And only then, it's because she's the one who got duped. The only reason we won in the first place is because Edgeworth said justice before hoes. Which, don't worry, we're gonna get to that in just a second.
Yes, I am guilty. It was me.
And then we see something odd. A pseudo flashback that appears to be from the time of the accident. People are screaming to call an ambulance, but why are they telling Stone Cold Vasquez to stay calm?
No. Manuel, please, please don't die, please.
In the end, Vasquez won. She had a motive all along, but it looks like she's going to take it with her to her grave.
The court finds the defendant, Mr. Will Powers.
Powers is, of course, ecstatic.
Thanks to you, I'll be able to don the Steel Samurai outfit once more. I can't wait to get back into that sweaty costume and... Is something wrong?
No! Of course not. Nick! Edgeworth!
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. He has mostly come to grumble about his loss, but he says something odd.
Right, I must say. I hadn't expected to meet you again after all these years. However, in retrospect, it would have been better had we not met. Thanks to you, I'm saddled with unnecessary feelings.
Oh, poor Edgeworth has to learn to be a real boy now. For now, he just sneers at him a little and skulks off. Powers asks if he's Wright's friend.
What? Friends? As if they're rivals! Rivals! Right, Nick?
For now we are, I guess.
Huh? Why do I get the feeling I'm missing something? Come on, Nick, tell me! What's the deal with you and Edgeworth?
She bugs him more about it, but for now, we're going to take a small step back before we head into the next episode. Because this scene, this moment with Edgeworth, transitions well into something I've been meaning to talk about. It is, in fact, the one major problem I have with this first game, and to an extent, most of the early Ace Attorney games. I'm going to go ahead and spoil something very minor that we're going to learn in just a minute. And that is that Edgeworth is not the prosecutor in the next trial. There's a reason for that, but suffice it to say that Edgeworth gets pretty benched for most of the last chapter. There's a good reason for that, of course, but because he's out of commission for the whole last chapter, that means that he's only actually been the prosecutor for 2 out of the 4 cases we've covered. He doesn't show up in the tutorial, and this is the last time we will face him in the courtroom in this game. This puts his character in a pretty awkward position. I didn't comment on it, but you might have noticed that in the course of only 2 cases, Edgeworth has gone from filing faulty autopsy reports just to get himself a win, to actively causing himself to lose a case just to get justice. I'm not saying that it's not a logical character arc for him, but the speed at which it occurs means that the turnaround is simply too fast. I really wish Ace Attorney had one more case lodged somewhere in the middle, if only to give Edgeworth's character a moment to relax before making the sudden transition from bad guy to okay guy. As it stands, for me at least, it really takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of his character arc, something that will haunt his development throughout the rest of the game. I've bitched and moaned enough, I think, so I'll stop teasing you now. Let's go ahead and see just what is in store for our poor edgy boy in the next one. What? Said he was benched. Didn't say it wasn't important. We start off the chapter with a whole dramatic thing that will actually be ruined by adding voice acting. Man, I hate it when a story relies on there not being a voice and I gotta work out how to get around that. Oh my god, Edgeworth's got a gun! Yeah, so, you know how I said that Edgeworth got benched this chapter? Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the offices of Wright & Co., Maya is trying to find a waterfall to stand under because she's been slacking on her training recently. Phoenix has a couple of suggestions. The cold shower doesn't work because the water pressure is too low.
You want more pressure, huh? Why don't you go down to the fire department and have them spray you with the hose?
So she does. Phoenix continues to watch the news. They're currently reporting on a lake monster seen at Gord Lake that they are dubbing Gordy. There is a joke here somewhere, but I have not yet determined it. But unfortunately, this riveting bit of news is interrupted by something actually relevant. A body has been found at, again, Gord Lake. And the murderer? Well, the police have arrested a certain Miles Edgeworth for the crime.
Nick, the fireman yelled at me when I called him.
You've got bigger things to worry about than that. They arrested Edgeworth.
What? When? Where? Whom? Why? How?
They both immediately jump to it, looks like things are still a little slow around the office, and head out to see him at the detention center.
So, you've come to laugh at the fallen attorney. Then laugh. Laugh! Well, why aren't you laughing?
Edgeworth, we don't have so much free time we can spend it coming down here to laugh at you.
Yes, you do.
Touché. Touché.
Maya and Wright question him about the events of the night, but he doesn't give us much, even claiming he was there to see Gordy. He is clearly not interested in them representing him. However, is a little thing like permission going to stop Phoenix, right? So here we are at Gord Lake, and in the distance we can hear Gumshoe actually directing people around. Holy shit, he must be really distraught if he's become even somewhat competent.
Hey, you're that hairy guy. Hairy Butz!
Guess I spoke too soon. Regardless, seeing the defense lawyer who's never lost a case, 3 to be exact, on the scene of a crime sure seems to invigorate him, and wow, he's actually going to help us out. Finally, we're on the same side as my favorite boy, so let's ask him about what happened, since Edgeworth clearly won't.
It happened last night, about 15 minutes after midnight. There was a boat out on Gord Lake. In that boat were 2 men. One of those men shot the other with a pistol.
Apparently, they arrested Edgeworth because there was a witness to the crime. Of course, being caught in a boat with a dead man is pretty straightforward, but good old Gumshoe doesn't believe it.
After all the help Mr. Edgeworth has been to us, hard to imagine that no one's standing up to take his side.
Well, at least you are, Detective.
And absolutely no one else. He can't even get anyone to represent him. Like, at all. And yet, he turned us down.
Well, pal, then you've got a job to do. Help out Mr. Edgeworth. Prove that badge you wear isn't just some fancy piece of metal. Prove it to me, pal. Show me you're an attorney.
Okay, holy shit, we're on it, pal! Gumshoe gets called in for a meeting, but tells us that we can get in touch with him at the precinct later. Before he leaves, he gives us free rein of the park, and so we're off! Our first stop is the public beach, though I think it's a little cold for swimming right now. There's not much here at the moment, though we can pick up some Christmas poppers, and Maya notices a stand selling samurai dogs. I mean, they must be great, right?
With a name like Samurai Dogs, how could they not be?
They're a little behind the times, though. The kids are all into the Pink Princess now. I mean, like, you know?
Nope.
We could also check out the boat rental shop, but there's nothing really to see here right now either. So that leads us out to the woods. Someone's clearly camping out here, and there's a bunch of high-tech equipment here, too.
Wow, cool! Let's try it out.
Hi, I'm Nick. Maybe I'm not saying it loud enough. Hey, I'm Nick!
Nick! Will you stop that?
It might not be programmed to respond to voices, so Maya tries out the most logical thing, using the party poppers. That definitely works.
Yeah! Hey, you, get your hands off of that!
You know, I was going to give Lotta to someone else, but Dragon insisted I needed to voice her again because, and I quote, that voice sounds just like Sandy Cheeks. I hate my life.
What in the Sam Hill? Look what you done now. There goes a whole roll of film.
Well...
What? Don't try to play stupid with me just because you think I'm some country bumpkin. Yeah, I know how y'all Yanks think. I say, those southern folks talk with that exaggerated drawl. Why, they must be dumb. Well, let me tell you, just because I might be dumb don't mean we all are.
But Tish. After introducing ourselves properly and explaining the situation, the woman becomes much more amenable and introduces herself as Lotta Hart, a college student here to photograph meteors. Her camera is set up to respond to loud noises, and when we explain that there was a gunshot last night, she realizes that her camera might have snapped a picture of the event. So she fucks off to her van to go check her film. She seems a little too excited to be witness to a murder. So while she's doing that, let's head down to the precinct to see if we can get a little more from Gumshoe. Long story short, it's not going well. At the meeting, they determined that the trial would go forward as planned, and they so far can't identify the victim, though Gumshoe is able to give us a peek at the autopsy report. Give Maya a good look at that report, and she'll claim that the victim looks familiar.
Hey, I remember now. This guy. He's a lawyer that was at that office Mia worked at.
That office, of course, meaning Grossberg's office. Geez, never thought we'd go back there, huh? If we stop by right now, however, we'll realize that he is currently out. As per usual. So, back to Lotta. She's got, bingo.
Bingo?
My automatic camera took 2 pictures last night. This is them. Take a look.
So this is, kind of a repeat of the last episode, isn't it? It's a little unclear who's actually doing the shooting here, but Lotta is very excited, and regardless of what you tell her, she goes to run off to the police with the photo. Great. At least she gives us the photo to keep. On the way out of the park, we run into... Santa?
Long time no see, Nick.
Nick? You know Santa? Wow. Nick and Saint Nick. Hey, I see the connection.
That'd be ridiculous.
Of course, this is not Santa Claus, but our old friend, Larry Butz, with a very different voice than last time. Listen, Grayman gave me puppy dog eyes, and how can I say no to that face? So, just what is the Butz doing here?
Isn't it obvious? I'm working my day job. I sell samurai dogs. Want one? Gotta get money for dates, you know. My girl Kiance deserves the best.
So he's dating another model, but instead of being with her last night, for Christmas Eve, by the way, it was Christmas Eve, I forgot to mention that, he was here working the grind. So he might have witnessed something, especially when Phoenix mentioned who the accused is.
Huh? You know Mr. Edgeworth, Larry?
Yeah, of course. Edgy was in the same class as us in grade school.
So, that's a real revelation. Phoenix, what else have you been keeping from us? This one time you made out in the locker room, maybe?
Don't get me wrong. He's always been kind of a stick in the mud, studying all the time, trying to be like father. Edgy's pop was a famous defense lawyer back in the day.
Huh? Pourquoi? But Edgeworth's a prosecuting attorney now.
Huh. Go figure. He always used to talk about defending the weak, who were unable to defend themselves. I wonder what changed his mind, though.
Anyway, besides that info, Larry doesn't have much for us. Business has been great because of the whole Gordy thing, and he even gives us a newspaper article about it. So, now that we've exhausted all our other options, let's see if Grossberg is finally back.
Him!
Yep, I'd say he's back. Anyway, show him the autopsy report, and he immediately identifies the man as Robert Hammond.
Mr. Hammond. He was the defense attorney in that case.
That case?
Yes, the DL6 incident.
Oh, fuck. That's the case that Maya's mom was involved in. So he's the one who got the guy off and discredited her mom. I should reword that. I should definitely reword that. So he's the one who got the guy off the hook and discredited her mom. So let's ask him what that case was actually about, and especially what it has to do with Edgeworth.
It has everything to do with Mr. Edgeworth, my dear. The victim in the DL6 incident was none other than his father, Gregory Edgeworth.
Holy shit. What the hell, man? Now I think we know why Edgeworth didn't want us to get involved with this case. So we go back to him, and as soon as we show him Misty-faced photo, he starts talking.
My memories from that time are foggy. In any case, a suspect was arrested. A man. It's pretty clear he was the only one who could have killed my father.
Misty Faye said the exact same thing. But someone, Hammond, managed to get the man acquitted. It's such a shame as well because the statute of limitations on that case was about to run out in just a few days. But okay, it's clear to Edgeworth now that we're not going to stay out of this, and he's desperate.
Right? It pains me to ask you this now.
I know! You want us to defend you!
Yes. Will you?
You can always say no, but don't be a fucking monster. Of course we will.
This is my chance to finally pay you back.
Pay me back? For what? I don't remember ever doing anything for you.
But before he can get more into that, there is a sudden, unexpected earthquake, and Edgeworth is now curled up in a ball on the floor. So we just kinda leave him? Like we don't get him some help or anything? But we go to Gumshoe, give him the letter of request for Edgeworth, and he almost cries tears of joy! Although there is one more twist. The witness we're facing tomorrow is actually going to be Lotta. But wasn't there another witness? Yes, but for some reason they canceled. Well, that's fine. We're gonna clear his name regardless of who we have to go through to get it. This is it. The final case of Ace Attorney, and it's proving to be just as strange as all the others. I'm thinking maybe, though, this one might get a little sad. No particular reason for that. What are you talking about? And once again, we find ourselves thoroughly disadvantaged going into the first trial. It's something the game kind of has to do in order to keep the tension up. Ace Attorney's whole ethos relies on that feeling of succeeding against all odds, of racking your brain for the solution and coming up victorious. More than most other detective games, Ace Attorney really makes you feel like a detective. It gives you some help, of course, helping you weave your way through the mystery by its very format as a trial, though in this first game, sometimes its attempts to guide you to the right answer feel a little clunky. We saw a bit of it in the last trial, and we'll definitely be seeing some more today. This is something future games get much better at doing without letting you know it's doing it. For now, though, I'm sure you've been wondering something. If we're defending Edgeworth, then who's the prosecutor? Well, we've already faced another prosecutor in this game, haven't we? I'm kidding, but can you imagine?
Karma?
That's right. Manfred von Karma. He's the best prosecutor there is. He hasn't lost a case in his 40-year career. He's a god of prosecution, right? A god. He'll do anything to get a guilty verdict.
That's quite a claim coming from someone who forges evidence.
Oh, that's right. Edgeworth isn't a good person. I'd almost forgotten. Anyway, as it turns out, Edgeworth was kind of this Von Karma character's protege, and if he's got him quaking in his boots, well, frankly, I don't know how we're going to fare. This gets Phoenix a little edgy, and he asks Maya about Mia.
Oh, I can't. Sorry, I tried. I really tried, but I couldn't reach. I think it's because I haven't been training. My powers are weak again.
She's going to keep trying, but it looks like Phoenix might be on his own for this one.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Von Karma, is the prosecution ready?
Fool! You seriously think that I would stand here were I not completely prepared? Decisive evidence? A decisive witness? What else could possibly be required?
Okay, we're off to a great start. Von Karma calls Gumshoe to the stand to explain the case, and here we go, I guess.
Describe the incident, now!
Please take a look at this map. The murder happened late Christmas Eve around midnight. There was one boat in the middle of the lake. There were 2 men on the boat. Now, there happened to be a woman camping here on the edge of the lake. At 12:10 a.m., she heard 2 pistol shots. Then the boat started to move. It went towards the boat rental shop.
Von Karma demands that Gumshoe now testify about his arrest.
Actually, I'm the one that's supposed to be handling these proceedings.
Wrong. There's only one thing you need to do here. You will slam down your gavel and say the word guilty. That is your role.
Holy shit, this guy is like really bad news. Like, the judge isn't the most straight back guy ever, but Jesus Christ, this is not good for us.
A man called into the station around 30 minutes after midnight. We headed to the scene of the crime as fast as we could. That's where we found Mr. Edgeworth. Now, I didn't suspect him of anything at all. But the next morning, a body was found in the lake. So we had to arrest Mr. Edgeworth.
Pressing for extra information reveals that they recovered 1 bullet from the body and also the pistol that was used to shoot him. Unfortunately, there are fingerprints all over the gun, prints from Edgeworth's right hand. In addition, the recovered bullet definitely came from the gun because of the matching ballistic markings. Maya asks Phoenix what those are, only to receive a glare from Von Karma.
Shocking. To imagine someone here does not know something as basic as ballistic markings.
The judge is almost convinced to drop a guilty verdict right now, but I think we all wish to hear Lotta speak, so Von Karma calls a 10-minute recess. He's not supposed to do that, and no one fights him. Back out in the defendant's lobby, things are not looking great for Edgeworth. He admits that, yes, he was in the boat that night, but insists he didn't shoot him.
I heard a gunshot from very close by. Then the other man fell from the boat. I can't say why, but I thought at the time that he had shot himself.
An interesting theory, but we've got bigger things to deal with. Maya still can't call Mia.
I know. I'm no good for anything, am I, Nick? If I can't call my sister, I might as well not be here, right?
You can tell her that she's right, but what the fuck is wrong with you? Phoenix tells Maya that he needs her here, but it doesn't really make her feel all that better. Although Phoenix does try to comfort her by telling her that everyone has bad days. Like him. Right now!
Oh, right, don't jinx this case any worse than it already is. It's bad for my heart.
But alright, back in court, Von Karma has called Lotta Hart to the stand and doesn't even ask for her name at all. Rude.
Begin by telling us what you saw the night of the incident, and don't add anything trivial or subjective. Understand?
Y'all need to learn some manners.
Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Jesus, he's even intimidating Lotta.
It was Christmas Eve just after midnight, I reckon. I was in my car. I heard this bang come up from the lake. When I looked out the window, I saw 2 gents in a boat. Then there was another bang. There wasn't nary a thing on the lake but that boat.
Von Karma mentions the photo she took and insists the judge accepts it as evidence, which he does so. As she said, there were no other boats on the lake, so the only person who could have shot him must have been Edgeworth. Looks like we're headed straight to a guilty verdict.
The evidence is decisive. I have very little doubt about this case. Very well, this court finds the defendant.
Objection! Wait, Your Honor! I haven't cross-examined the witness yet.
Von Karma thinks this is ridiculous, but he gives Phoenix his shot. However, if he fails, he'll be held in contempt of court. Again, Von Karma is not supposed to be able to call the shots like this, but he just is anyway. Unfortunately, try as we might, Lotta's statement doesn't seem to have any contradictions in it. Once again, it looks like this trial might be over.
Hold it!
Who was that?
It was me.
Is something wrong? Do you need to use the facilities?
No, I do not. Lotta Hart, your testimony stinks. It's unclear whether you were actually looking at the lake. It's highly doubtful that you actually saw Mr. Edgeworth. Tell us the truth. This is a matter of life or death.
What's the big idea? Treat me like some kind of criminal. I saw him. I swear it. I saw Edgeworth.
Objection.
Von Karma tries to get the entire defense team thrown out, but Maya insists that she was the one who made the outburst. She is escorted from the room, leaving Phoenix alone. However, that one outburst was all he needed.
Did you hear what Miss Hart just said? She said she clearly saw Mr. Edgeworth. That was not in the testimony. That changes her testimony, and I have a right to cross-examine her again.
So, he does, with one new statement, but that's all he needs. It would have been quite impossible to make out faces that night, what with the fog being so thick and all. All you have to do is take one look at the photo she took to see that. Von Karma tries to protest, but the judge grows a fucking spine and insists that she testify about her sighting. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix turns out to be the judge's long-lost son with all the favor he gives him. Holy shit!
You're right. It was a cold night and the fog was thick as grits. So once I was finished setting up my camera, I got back in the car. Still, I brought my binoculars with me. When I heard that noise from the lake, I looked with my binoculars. See? No problem.
It's a little detail, but if you've been listening closely, something might stick out to you. Why would she need binoculars to take pictures of meteors? Shouldn't she need a telescope for that? Von Karma tries to claim irrelevancy, but the judge insists that she testify about the camera. So, it is at this moment that you'd think that you want to, maybe present the article about Gordy in order to claim that was what she was really out on the lake to photograph, because it's clearly what she was out on the lake to photograph. That's where my mind went, because obviously she's really here for him and not some silly meteor showers. But nope, apparently that's one step too far, and instead the game wants you to present Lotta's camera on the statement about her camera. There's a lot of instances of this in the first game where it just wants you to present the thing the statement is talking about, and then Phoenix will just go off about whatever the game actually wants you to notice. Okay, sure thing, game.
I saw the camera you set up yesterday. It was pointed directly at the lake. You have to point a camera upwards to take photos of the stars, Miss Hart.
The judge, of course, asks what she was photographing, and now you present the Gordy article. Figures. I never heard of no lake monster. You got proof or something? Let me see you prove it that I was down at the lake trying to photograph this Gordy. Obviously, we do. The article about Gordy mentions a loud noise when he appeared, and Lotta's camera was set up to go off when it detects loud noises. Yeah, not bad. Are all you lawyers this smart? So smart, boy. I was down there trying to photograph Gordy. You got me. So what? That don't change what I saw, does it?
Exactly. What you just used several minutes of our time to prove is nothing more that the witness is an idiot who thinks monsters exist.
Not true. You were hiding the whole thing about Gordy for some reason. I know it.
So, once more with feeling. One last testimony from our dear Miss Hart. I swear most of these witnesses would have been thrown out by now. No wonder they had to implement a 3-day trial rule. Holy shit. Actually, I'm not a research student at a university. I'm an investigative photographer. That's why I was camping out by the lake. When I heard the bang, I looked right straight out at that lake. There wasn't much else to look at, so I just watched that boat the whole time. Then I saw a flash near one of the man's hands, and I heard another gunshot. I was looking right at the boat the whole time, crossed my heart and hoped to fry. Von Karma tries to stop Wright from cross-examining the witness, claiming that it essentially remains unchanged, but he seems almost desperate about it. There's clearly something in here to hide. The judge lets us do it, so let's use our last chance well. This one is another stretch, I think, but in the exact opposite way the last one was. Last time we had to go through each step of the logic, but this time the game expects us to take several all at once. We're supposed to present the Gordy article on any of her last statements. Why? Because if she was actually looking for Gordy, she wouldn't have bothered to look at the boat.
You wouldn't give the boat a second thought.
Which, of course, this is true, but presenting the article about Gordy leading us down that train of thought is a little stretchy, I think, especially right after the game informed us to not make too many leaps in logic at once. Well, now that y'all mention it, I did sort of take my binoculars and kind of scan the lake a bit. I mean, Gordy might be out there and all.
Miss Hart, are you saying that you were not watching the boat then?
Sorry, y'all. I wasn't fibbing, really. I thought, I could be witness to a murder and all. I kind of got excited. I was sure I was watching that boat. Till now. In a twist, the witness who had nothing to do with it had a really silly reason for lying. In the last chapter, Cody's confession was a dramatic moment of a child wanting to protect his hero, but here with Lotta, she just thought it would be cool. However, knowing everything we do about Lotta, it makes total sense for her character. She hoofed it all the way out to Gourd Lake and grabbed a super expensive camera just so she could be the one to photograph Gordy. Another good moment where the game's internal logic still makes sense. If there's one thing Ace Attorney rarely does, it's hide behind the label of comedy when it comes to its storytelling, and I super admire it for that. Anyway, Lotta's statements are pretty much thrown out. However, we still have the photo. We can't get much from it, but wait, Phoenix remembers something. Earlier, Gumshoe told us that Lotta was thinking of getting that photo enlarged. So why hasn't it been shown in court?
Objection. Because it does not exist.
What are y'all talking about? You were the one who told me not to show it in court in the first place, you old fool! The judge does not take kindly to all this foolishness and insists that Lotta show the enlargement. She does, but it doesn't really tell us anything, does it? Once more, Von Karma tries to get the judge to declare a verdict, but there's gotta be something, right? Phoenix objects. there might be just one thing. One tiny little itty-bitty detail.
Look at the hand holding the pistol, Your Honor. That hand directly contradicts another piece of evidence.
This man's left hand does what?
Sorry, I'm a child. Also, in the original photo, the two men in the boat look like penises. Okay, I've got it all out now. Present the pistol. Obviously.
The evidence is clear. The man in this photo is holding that pistol in his left hand. However, the prints on the murder weapon were from Edgeworth's right hand. Ergo, the man shooting the pistol in the photograph is not Mr. Edgeworth.
So the question then is, if it wasn't Edgeworth who shot the victim, then who was it? Von Karma insists there can be no one else, but we all know who the real criminal is here.
I see. Very well, allow me to state my opinion. Considering the situation, the shooter had to be the defendant, Mr. Edgeworth. However, the prints on the gun reveal that the shooter was not Mr. Edgeworth. This is a conundrum. Therefore, I would like to suspend proceedings for this trial for the day. The court orders the defense and prosecution to further investigate this matter.
Von Karma is not pleased. But this is great. We've bought a little more time to investigate. This is all we could have asked for, considering that the trial was nearly shut down 3 separate times in there. Back out in the defendant's lobby, Wright and Edgeworth bicker a little bit before Phoenix goes to check on Maya.
Oh, right. Tell her something for me. Tell her to watch what she says in court. That's all.
Would it kill you to just state how you really feel with a thanks, Edgeworth?
Wright requisitions a transcript of Lotta's testimony, just in case, though most of it had to be thrown out, and we're back off to the lake to do some more investigating. First, let's go to check on Maya. She's still pretty bummed about how useless she is at both lawyering and spirit mediuming, but at least she's going to be out as soon as they're done questioning her. We can go talk to Gumshoe about it, but he's not at the station right now. So let's head out to the lake. There's nothing there. Almost anywhere. Am I the only one that thinks the areas in Ace Attorney are a little unnerving when they're empty like this? But finally, out in the woods, we run into Gumshoe.
Hey, pal. The trial today, well, I was gonna say good show, but it wasn't really all that. Though you did save Mr. Edgeworth, I guess.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, pal. Let's ask him some questions while we've got him here. Apparently, Von Karma is planning to call the other witness at the trial tomorrow, although Gumshoe can't reveal his identity, and Edgeworth is scared of earthquakes because of...
The DL6 incident?
Yep, that's the one. 15 years ago, when he saw his father shot before his very eyes.
Holy shit, we didn't know that. Unfortunately, we can't press him for more than that, so let's at least ask about Maya. She was supposed to be out ages ago, so Gumshoe takes off to go check on her, and we follow behind.
Those interrogators were really mean. They were like,
Okay, what did you do this time?
like I was some kind of criminal. Can you believe it?
Luckily, neither of them have to deal with Maya's bail because it turns out it was already posted. By Edgeworth. Looks like he finally figured out how to say thank you after all. But alright, it's time to get hoofing. I'm really jiving on that word this video, and I have no idea why. Regardless, right at the entrance to Gourd Lake, we immediately bump into Lotta. She apologizes for nearly messing up the trial, and in order to make it up to us, proposes an exchange. That's not really making up for anything, but okay. It seems like she has some information about the case for us, but in order to fork it over, she wants some info as well. On Gordy.
But Gordy doesn't... Gordy might not exist!
Then bring me proof that shows he don't. Great, so now with forced side quest in tow, we head further into the park and holy shit, what is that?
The Steel Samurai, Nick!
It and the crazy banner seems to belong to Larry, and it was his girlfriend Keonce's idea. Apparently it's been helping him sell loads of dogs. But then why wasn't it there yesterday?
Huh? Oh, right. The compressor was busted.
He seems oddly nervous about that, but okay. With no further leads on the lake itself, let's head over to the police station to ask if Gumshoe can help us.
Huh? Are you out of your minds? You got time to go wild monster hunting? How about doing a little questioning for me then?
But once you actually explain the situation, he calms down and immediately agrees to lend you one of the department's secret weapons, which turns out to be Missile the police dog, Gumshoe's personal fishing pole.
How are we supposed to catch a whole sea monster with a fishing pole?
Never know till you try, pal.
And a normal metal detector. As much as I would adore taking the dog, the missile is very eepy and has had a very long day of splashing bandits, and the secret weapon we actually need is the metal detector. If we take that metal detector to the boat rental shop, it'll go off, and in the bushes we find an air tank? With some flags wrapped around it. Curious. I wonder who this belongs to. Larry. It's Larry, obviously. So we confront him with the air tank, and although he tries to deny it, he eventually confesses to his crime.
It's like what I said. The compressor was busted. So I took the tank and tried to fill the samurai up with it, and then the valve busted open and made this incredible noise. And that tank there took off like a rocket. And it took my poor deflated seal samurai with it.
Am I the only one who's getting a sinking feeling in my stomach? Right, I think it's time to head over to Lotta now.
There's a stand near here. A hot dog stand. There's a giant inflatable samurai doll out there. About a week ago, an idiot, who happens to be a friend of mine, tried to fill it. He used this air tank, and when the valve blew, the tank flew into the lake. Apparently, it made a pretty loud bang when it flew. The tank, along with the still deflated samurai, fell into the lake. At the same time, a couple was taking a photograph of the lake.
So he explains the weird bang noise that accompanied Gordy's appearance. Lotta is none too pleased to hear this, but just as promised, she gives us our info. I overheard the cops around here saying something about the witness tomorrow. They said he's the caretaker of the boat rental place up the path here.
Boat rental? There's someone there? I mean, it looks so deserted.
Just an old guy living all by himself. Y'all should go check it out. Before we scram, Lotta has one more thing for us. Her camera went off twice that night, remember? A detail that never came up in court. It was certainly bugging me, though! Along with the 3 bullets in the body, despite there only being 2 gunshots, but we're getting to that. She hands us the second photo, which is just an empty shot of the lake. Odd. Lotta packs up and leaves, and Maya feels pretty bad about the whole thing.
It's all Larry's fault. The legend lives on, I guess.
The legend?
Yeah, the legend of Larry. Familiar to all who know him for any length of time. When something smells, it's usually the Butz.
And we brought it home with that one. I'm going to kill myself. But now if we head over to the boat shop, we are now allowed inside the building. So let's see what sort of kooky character awaits us within.
Meg? Is that you? Hey, is that Keith with you? Where have you two been? I've been worried sick.
Nick, you handle this.
I think I'll leave this one up to you, Maya.
Meg, finally made up your mind, have you? You'll run the pasta shop while I'm gone? Glad to hear it, glad to hear it. You'll make your old man proud. When you kids left the house, I didn't know what to think. How am I supposed to keep the place running, an old man like me? Polly, the kids are home. Hello, Squire.
Honestly, I really don't know what I expected. This is one of the more complicated interactions in the first game because different dialogue options open up when you present your attorney badge, when you present the lake photo, and when you examine the parrot, and it's all tangled up in this old man's jumbled memory. Fantastic. But we do manage to learn a few important things from this encounter. First, that the parrot will only say things when prompted with certain phrases, and that the old man uses her to remember things, and finally, that he did witness the events of Christmas Eve.
I forgot the time, but it was pretty dark outside. Probably night, yup. Then I heard this bang, so I looked outside. Then I heard another one. Then a young man walked by my window here. He was muttering something to himself, yup.
What did he say?
Yep. I forgot. I'll remember by court time, promise.
Looks like we're not going to get much else here. On the way out, however, Maya decides on a whim to ask the parrot one more question.
Polly, have we forgotten something?
Squawk! Don't forget, DL6! Squawk!
Huh? Unfortunately, before they can ask him anything else, the old man locks the door and they are stuck back outside. Oh shit, what in the Sam fuck are we supposed to do with this information? Looks like we've got just a little more to do before the trial tomorrow, so let's go ask Gumshoe if we can have a look at the police files, because it looks like DL6 is actually very important to this trial. He, of course, immediately agrees. Wow, this man is actually kind of competent when he's on your side, and we get access to the records room at the station. Score! Once inside, Maya quickly tracks down the file and they read through it together. I'm just going to quickly summarize everything we learned so we can get on with it. 15 years ago, there was a large earthquake that affected the court building, during which 3 people were trapped for several hours in an elevator. They were the main suspect, a court clerk named Yanni Yogi, Miles Edgeworth, and Edgeworth's father, Gregory Edgeworth. When they finally got the elevator open, Edgeworth's dad had been shot in the heart, and the pistol, which was obviously still in the elevator, had been fired twice. The suspect, unfortunately, was suffering from pretty severe oxygen deprivation and lost all memory of being in the elevator. This man, Yanni Yogi, was the man Misty Faye got arrested, and also the man that Robert Hammond got declared innocent. Yet after the case was concluded, he simply disappeared.
He may be closer than we think.
But it looks like, at the moment, that's all we can do. We'll have to face off against the boat rental guy and Von Karma tomorrow, so we just have to do our best and hope it all works out.
I wonder how Dad will do testifying in court.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Very well. Apparently the prosecution is also ready. Mr. Von Karma, your opening statement... very well. No opening statement. So...
Objection. Not so fast, Judge. I was taking a meaningful pause before speaking. A prediction. Today's trial will end 3 minutes from now. We have no time to waste. I'll call my witness now.
Jesus Christ, I guess we're just getting right into it, huh? It is very interesting how the character roles have to shift around now that Edgeworth is out of commission. Up till this point, he's primarily acted as the straight man to all of the witness antics, but now that role is shifted to the judge, as Karma is too kooky to be straight. Wait. Ultimately, I think this role suits the judge better and allows him to have more meaningful things to say besides shouting order all the time, although there's no better VA than Jax for that. But alright, let's see what our witness has to say for himself.
I am the proprietor of the Wet Noodle in Gourd Lake. And I also rent boats.
Von Karma asks him to begin, but hold on, we're missing a very important part of the testimony. Who the heck is this guy?
Wait a minute! The witness hasn't stated his name yet!
Objection. Because I did not ask him, Mr. Wright. I have predicted this trial will end in 3 minutes. Stop asking trivial questions and cooperate.
The witness will state his name.
Well, I'm not really sure, yup.
As it turns out, this witness, will be referring to him from here on out as Uncle, because that's what my handy little transcript does, doesn't have his memory before the last several years. I wonder just why that could be. One would think this would disqualify him from being a witness, but he can remember 3 days ago, so it's fine.
I was in the restaurant where I rent boats, as usual. Then I heard a bang. Yup. When I looked out the window, I saw a boat just floating on the lake. Then I heard another bang. Just about then, the boat comes back to the shore, and a man walks by my window.
There is nothing to question in my witness testimony. Ergo, no need for cross-examination. Besides, there are only 10 seconds left before 3 minutes are up. Judge, your verdict now.
Holy shit, he's more pushy than when I'm trying to get Dragon out of the house on time. So let's do the number one thing I hate in that scenario. Stalling! Let's question this bitch. First, his last statement is really vague, so let's press him on that.
That man was the defendant. He was saying, I can't believe he's dead.
The judge seems to think that Edgeworth muttering to himself constitutes a guilty verdict, which is insane. It's not like he was muttering that he killed him or anything.
Nick, I don't like the way things are going here. Everyone in the courtroom is glaring at us.
For some reason, everyone sees this bozo's testimony as conclusive. Even Phoenix. I don't get it. What about this is decisive?
This court finds the defendant, Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
How? Like, this is absolutely plot-breaking. Why couldn't they come up with a better reason for the evidence to look decisive? Like, oh my god!
Wait! Who was that just now?
Oh my god, Larry. Thank you for bringing back some sanity to this trial. Somehow.
Listen! You gotta listen to me! I was there in the park the night of the murder. I wasn't sure about it until just yesterday. But today I remembered it.
Von Karma is appalled considering that the verdict has already been laid down, and unfortunately I kinda have to agree with him, but we haven't been following standard court procedures for so long now that who the fuck gives a shit? I guess we're letting him testify. Alright, let's fucking do it, but first a 5-minute recess. Whee!
This might be our chance. Von Karma has only ever run perfect trials, perfectly prepared witnesses, perfectly complete evidence. That's the secret to his success. This is the first time he's ever had to deal with something unexpected. He has to let someone he hasn't even talked to testify before the court. And that someone is Larry.
His testimony is inevitably going to be stupid and nonsensical, so at the very least, we can milk it for all it's worth. Let's hear what he has to say.
That night, I was out in a boat on the lake. I was looking for something and I found it, so I quietly slipped the boat back in at the rental shop dock. Then, just as I was thinking about going home, I heard this bang! I looked out over the lake, but I didn't notice a boat. So after I heard that single gunshot, I went home.
It's time to press his ass, and both Phoenix and I are horrified that a little bit of Dookie is going to come out, but we must proceed onward because we're going to need a little more info from him. It was slightly after 11 when he started out with the boat, and he thinks about midnight when he got back. But there's something very important here. Larry only heard one gunshot, but several others have specifically said there were 2. So present Lotta's deposition, and let's see what gives.
You know, something's been bothering me. I'm a witness, see? I'm like a customer here. So you gotta treat me nice and stuff, okay?
We're going to ignore that, and I'm going to try to not punch this man in the face after the Christmas season that I've just had. Anyway, Larry claims that he may very well have missed the second gunshot because he was listening to his radio. Great. Just great. So you really didn't see anything at all. Fantastic. But I guess let's try to see what he has to say about this radio.
Nothing is more pitiful than a lawyer who doesn't know when he's lost.
I wouldn't if there were any other way out of this, believe me.
It's lonely being alone on Christmas Eve. That's why I was listening to an all-request show on the radio, see? I was listening to it real booming loud, but I'm sure I heard that gunshot. I remember exactly what the DJ was saying when I heard it too.
Larry's testimony is almost thrown out entirely, but Phoenix wants to ask him what the DJ was saying, since he remembers it so clearly.
Excuse me. DJ?
We're ignoring him. Apparently what the DJ said was, "Hey, it's almost Christmas," right before you heard the gunshot. Wait, it's almost Christmas? But both the lake photo and Lotta herself say the gunshots happened after midnight, significantly so. Von Karma thinks he's just an idiot who didn't really hear anything, but Phoenix, for once, stands up for his friend.
Take that! Something about this pistol was bothering me, Your Honor. Both of the witnesses who testified heard 2 gunshots. However, the murder weapon was fired 3 times. When, then, was the last shot fired? The 3rd shot was the shot Larry heard just before midnight.
One problem. Where's our proof that Larry isn't delusional? Well, we'll have to dig deep for that one, but Lotta again coming in clutch with the proof we need. It is, of course, the second lake photo, the one that went off at 11:50 with no boat in it. But of course, Von Karma's coming to ruin our day once again. If there were 3 gunshots with 25 minutes between them, why? Maya and Phoenix confer, and Phoenix comes up with an answer. It's actually quite similar to the last case. We've been assuming the whole time that Hammond was shot 15 minutes after midnight.
But Larry heard a gunshot 25 minutes before that. Robert Hammond was killed then, 25 minutes before the shot on the lake.
Mr. White, are you quite mad? Explain who the 2 men on the boat are.
Why, it was Edgeworth and the murderer, of course. Edgeworth hadn't seen Hammond in years, and with all the fog, it would have been easy for the actual murderer to disguise himself as Hammond to fool not only Edgeworth, but also the entire world. Okay, so then, who's the actual murderer? Well, honestly, we don't know.
Actually, I don't know the murderer's name. I don't know because he never told us.
The murderer was actually the rental boatman. He committed the actual murder right behind the rental shack, which was why Larry could hear the gunshot so clearly. The murder happened right behind him. After that, Uncle put on Hammond's coat and went to meet Edgeworth. He shot twice, and both missed Edgeworth on purpose.
Why would he shoot twice if he didn't mean to hit anyone?
Obviously, to create a witness. He wanted someone to see him and Edgeworth on that boat so that it looked like Edgeworth shot him.
Once you realize that, everything else falls into place. The boat shop caretaker swam back to his shop. Then, he put Mr. Hammond's coat back on the body, and threw the body into the lake. This is what happened, Your Honor. These are the events that transpired that night on Gourd Lake.
Holy shit, that clears up, like, all my questions. What the fuck, Phoenix? Where did you pull that out of? Your ass? Everyone else is just as flabbergasted, and the judge immediately calls for Uncle to take the stand again. While they're tracking him down, the judge has a couple of questions for Edgeworth. Apparently, Phoenix's conjecture was almost entirely correct.
Several days ago, I received a letter. The letter was signed Robert Hammond. He asked me to come to the boat shop by the lake at midnight on Christmas Eve.
But before he gets into more detail, we run into a small problem. Uncle is missing. I wonder fucking why! Well, we very well can't continue this trial without him, so looks like we're going back to investigating.
Just who is that boat shop caretaker? I think his identity has become very important to this trial.
In what way do you want him, Judge?
I want him.
Anyway, court is adjourned. Maya and Phoenix are celebrating, but Edgeworth isn't.
Don't look so pained. I mean, it looks like you're probably going to get off the hook. You could try to smile just a little. Relax.
Edgeworth has his reasons.
Right. There's something that's been troubling me for a long time now. And I don't know whether or not to tell you. It's a nightmare I've had. A memory of a crime that I committed. A memory of a murder.
So that's just great. Back at the office, Maya ponders whether Edgeworth has actually killed someone, but Phoenix claims it's impossible.
Yo! How's everyone doing? What did you think of my performance today? I had him swooning in the aisles. Huh, Maya?
Swooning? Me? Oh, yes, I do remember feeling faint.
Great, thanks for interrupting this tense moment, Larry. But Maya's gonna bring it back, asking why Phoenix trusts in Edgeworth so much.
I mean, he's changed recently, true, but when we first met him, he was kind of a jerk, don't you think?
But Phoenix just tells her that she didn't know him back when he did.
In grade school, they saved me, Miles, and Larry. They saved me, and I'll never forget it. That's why I became a defense attorney, you know.
What? Hey, Larry, what's he talking about?
Huh? Sorry, I kind of forgot.
Okay, that's just great, Larry. But since he doesn't remember, and Maya doesn't remember, and we don't remember, then I guess it's up to Phoenix to drive this bus. Back in the 3rd grade, a kid's monthly lunch money got stolen, and since the crime was committed during gym class, which Phoenix happened to not participate in that day, the whole class blames him. They even threw a whole class trial about it. No, stop! Get out of here! In the end, even the teacher thinks he's guilty and makes him go apologize to the kid in question.
Objection! He shouldn't have to apologize. The only thing that belongs in a trial is evidence. Anything else has no place. You should all be ashamed, amateurs. It wasn't you who stole my money, was it? Then you shouldn't apologize. Everyone's been shouting you did it, but no one has any proof. That is why, Your Honor, this boy is innocent.
This is how it always is. Everybody ganging up and picking on one person. Just think how he feels. He said he didn't do it, so he didn't do it.
Eventually, the teacher replaced the money herself, and whoever actually stole it got off scot-free. I'm not sure if we ever get an answer to that question. Anyway, afterwards, the three became thick as thieves. Maya tells Larry that he did a good thing, and his answer, honestly, makes me a little sad.
Yeah. Well, I was just lucky that I took the day off from school. If I'd been there, they would have thought I'd done it. So, I took it kind of personally, see?
Because when something smells, it's usually the Butz. How the fuck did they manage to make me feel bad for laughing at that phrase? Fuck's sake. Anyway, Edgeworth moved away a few months later after the Deal 6 incident, and it wasn't until a few years ago Phoenix saw his name again in a newspaper as an up-and-coming prosecutor. So he tried to get in touch with his old friend, but never received a response. However, he realized that if he became a defense attorney, then Edgeworth would have to talk to him. After hearing his sob story, Maya is now fully motivated and ready to go. So let's get investigating one last time. First step, let's go talk to Edgeworth. Maya reminds him of the story while they're there because even he's forgotten.
That said, it does sound like the kind of thing you do. You haven't changed a bit, have you, right? So simple. To a fault, even.
Well, maybe, but I think you've changed too much, Edgeworth.
So, time to fill in some blanks about Edgeworth's side of the story. Apparently, he ended up becoming a prosecutor instead of a defense attorney like his dear old dad, because after the event where a DA got the man who clearly murdered Edgeworth's father off the hook, he became a little disgusted with the whole profession. Of course, the defense they used was that the man in question, Yanni Yogi, had not been of sound mind at the time due to oxygen deprivation. The other reason is, obviously, because Von Karma took him under his wing after that incident. Taught him everything he knows! Jeez, no wonder Edward's such a freak.
All Von Karma does is his job, to find the suspect guilty perfectly. In any case, it's nigh well impossible to find a weakness in him. Should a weakness appear, he would do everything in his power to make it go away.
Horrifying! Right, let's go back to the park and see if we can't do some snooping around Uncle's shack.
Hey, pal. Long time no see. Close one today, eh? I got so worked up I snapped my tie in half.
Gumshoe vows that he's gonna find the son of a bitch who really did it if it's the last thing he'll do. So we are not going to see much of him today, I guess. Off to the boat shop. Before we go in, however, we happen to run into a familiar face who's just happening to take a walk.
Ahem! Aha! Hello! What might you be doing here? Out for a walk, Ah, the days of my youth. Like the scent of fresh lemon. You see?
Grossberg, are you having a stroke?
Mr. Grossberg, this is no time for reminiscing! Mr. Edgeworth's trial ends tomorrow!
Grossberg seems confident that they'll win, but Phoenix isn't sure, so Grossberg tells them to stop by his office later, and they promise to do so. In the meantime, let's head inside the shack and see what we can find.
Hello! Squawk!
Hey, it's Polly! I wonder where your owner's gone, Polly.
Hello! Squawk!
I can't believe he'd run off and leave his poor parrot to fend for herself!
Hello! Squawk!
Surely the police will do something about the bird, but wait, didn't something happen with that bird yesterday? That's right, she knew the combination to Uncle's safe. There's only one thing inside. A letter.
Get your revenge on Miles Edgeworth. Edgeworth!
The rest of the letter describes in detail pretty much the exact murder plot that Phoenix laid out to the court yesterday. So somebody sent Uncle instructions on how to commit the murder and frame Edgeworth for it. Someone with incredibly neat handwriting. Holy shit, this is huge! So let's rush over and show it to Edgeworth. As soon as you show him the letter, Edgeworth racks his brain to see how he might know Uncle, and one very obvious name, comes to mind.
Yogi. Could he be Yogi?
Okay, for fuck's sake, who was this guy? Edgeworth! Explain!
Yanni Yogi was a court bailiff at the time. We just happened to be in that elevator together 15 years ago. We were there for so long, it felt like forever. The air thinned, and the darkness closed in on us in that little box.
Yogi started freaking out, but that's all Edgeworth really remembers about the incident.
Huh. But isn't that strange? The letter tells him to get revenge on Edgeworth. Why would he want to take revenge on you?
All right, Edgeworth. Out with it. What's the weird dream you've been having? As it turns out, Edgeworth keeps having dreams where he's in the elevator. Yanni Yogi is freaking out, and in order to defend his father, Edgeworth throws a discarded pistol at them. The gun goes off, and when everyone comes to, Gregory Edgeworth is dead.
But that's just a dream, right? Right?
But with the fact that Yogi wants his revenge, we can't be too sure, can we? But there's one person we can go to ask more about DL6, and he just told us earlier to come to his office.
I see. So Edgeworth dreamt he shot his own father. I wonder.
Grossberg also suspects that the dream might not just be a dream and fills in one important blank for us, how Edgeworth's father was involved. So let's hear all the rest of the details about DL6. Apparently, Edgeworth Sr. and Von Karma were rivals. The older Edgeworth was obsessed with exposing Von Karma's shady methods of prosecuting. Though he never won against him, he was certainly an enormous thorn in Von Karma's side, to the extent that he caused Von Karma to take the only vacation of his career. So clearly, Von Karma somehow found out that Edgeworth accidentally shot his dad, and is using that to orchestrate a murder that will get Edgeworth behind bars. You know, just to be a dick. Finally, Grossberg suggests that we go check out the police files for the incident, and we take him up on that. At the police station, an officer there informs us that Gumshoe still isn't back to let us into the records room, but since Von Karma is already in there, it should be fine. This is, really not good? So, obviously we go to confront him.
You? How do you know my name? Have we met?
Well, what are you saying? We see each other every day, don't we? We're Miles Edgeworth's defense team.
Defense team? I beg your pardon. You see, I rarely remember defense attorneys. They are like bugs to me. Needless things. To be crushed.
Jesus Christ. We can talk to him for a second, but we don't really get anything out of him until we are forced to do something so stupid that it boggles my mind. In order to move the plot forward, we have to show him the letter we found in the shack.
Yanni Yogi. How many years has it been since I've heard him called by that name? He's a fool. I told him to burn it after he read it.
So you admit it? You wrote Mr. Yogi this letter?
Yes, my dear defense attorney. Thank you for taking the trouble to bring it to me. You've saved me from a lot of needless hassle.
Great. Oh, and now he's got a taser. Just fucking great. Maya gets in his way, but he gets her, gets Phoenix, gets the letter. Von Karma is just winning today.
I couldn't stop him. I'm useless. I'm no good as a lawyer or a medium. I can't even call my sister. Not even now, when we need her the most.
But wait. Maya's got something. In the scuffle, it turns out she grabbed something from Von Karma. It's a bullet.
I'll prove it to you, Maya. You're most definitely not useless. I'll prove it to you in court tomorrow.
Barring the one obvious misstep of making Phoenix do something so stupid it genuinely makes me upset, this last investigation section builds the tension and reveals the plot to us in an incredibly masterful way. Sure, in this section a lot of the stuff that's been hidden from us for the entire game is revealed, but it still makes you feel like you're the one uncovering it. Because that missing piece of the puzzle, Edgeworth, is finally talking to us. And even so, it's like pulling on a rope with him as a dead weight on the other end. Because we have to keep coming back to him, keep asking him for more info, keep showing him the things we've found and the people we've talked to get him to spill his guts. And yet, despite all our progress, we're still going into this last trial feeling like the underdog, because even if we know we're right, even if we know who's actually behind this murder, Von Karma has our evidence. And if we don't have any evidence, Von Karma can immediately sideline any speculation on our part and claim it to be a wild fantasy. This one is gonna be tough. I suppose it has to be, considering it's the last trial, the closest thing this game gets to a final boss.
This is it. Judgment Day. Judgment Day! Judgment Day! Red Site Stories! Red Site Stories! Read Red Site Stories! This is it. Judgment Day. Today, things are gonna get settled at last. A lot of things. Ah! What's the big idea?
Sorry, Nick. I only touched your shoulder. I guess the shock hasn't worn off from my run-in with the stun gun yesterday.
So while Phoenix is panicking and Edgeworth is brooding, Maya is running around shocking people by touching them. Our main cast, everyone! While Maya goes out to discharge, Gumshoe shows up with some good news for us. Finally!
Have no fear. As promised, I've captured our runaway caretaker. I just brought him in. Took all night, pal.
Okay, so all the pieces are in their proper places, so let's get this fucking trial started!
Court is in session for the trial of Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The prosecution is ready.
Holy shit, he's actually following the rules of the court. Is it weird that this wigs me out more? It seems the judge is just as dumbstruck as I am, so before he has a stroke, let's bring out the man of the hour, our dear old uncle. I think the number one question on everyone's minds is, if he wasn't running away as Von Karma claims, then where has he been for the last 24 hours?
I'm really sorry about just leaving yesterday like I did, but I wasn't running away or anything. I, went to buy some food for Polly, see? I figure I got nothing to do with this incident anyhow. I'd need one of those motive things, right? I don't got one, so my testimony yesterday stands as is.
This is one of those testimonies where we're kinda just supposed to press everything and exhaust all our options. We can call him out on his supposed memory loss, and the judge clocks our insistence.
You've been saying the same thing now over and over. You've been calling the witness's memory of the past or lack thereof into question. But does this really have anything to do with the current case?
Of course, Your Honor. The witness has said he has nothing to do with this case, and no motive. Both of these statements are lies.
Well, of course, the question then becomes, what makes us so confident? So it's time to bring out Uncle's real identity as Yanni Yogi.
Objection. Tisk. Jumping to conclusions once again, Mr. Wright. This man, this witness, is Yanni Yogi? Fascinating. However, how do you propose to prove this to the court? This is a court of law, as you may recall. You need proof.
But Phoenix has a plan. Simply take the man's fingerprints and it'll prove that he's Yogi, right? Wrong. You see, Uncle doesn't have any fingerprints. Apparently he used to work at a chemical plant and burned them right off. Okay, sure thing, buddy. But this puts us in some really deep shit. We don't have any other way to prove this man's identity.
Tisk. Well, Mr. Wright, perhaps you'd like to cross-examine his parrot for a little comic relief,
Yeah, very funny. You're a sore winner, Von Karma. Wait a second. Cross-examine his parrot?
What is it, Nick? No, you're not going to.
Your Honor! The defense would like to take Mr. Von Karma up on his proposal.
Oh my fucking god, he's gonna cross-examine the parrot. I mean, come on, we knew it was leading to this, but come on! This is honestly the only way this game could have gotten any sillier, and my god, they fucking went for it!
That's quite a bird. Please tell us your name. Name! The witness is ignoring me. Very well, witness. Who is your owner? Please, testify for us. Hello! Squawk! Certainly the most concise testimony we've heard so far.
So that means that with only this one statement, we have to begin our cross-examination? Jesus Christ, we're really gonna have to break this one apart.
Hold it! Witness! You can't just say, hello, and expect us to get anywhere. I want you to testify. Maya, you talk to her.
Right. What do I say?
Well, it looks like the answer's obvious, right? If the bird knows about DL6, then the case is as good as closed. Unfortunately, she doesn't answer. Von Karma has retrained the bird. What a little fucking bitch. Fine then, I guess let's ask it its fucking name.
Potly, squawk!
Okay, great. But wait, we're not done. If you look in the DL6 document that's been so kindly dropped into our case record, you can see that Yanni Yogi had a fiancée, but she committed suicide after the incident. Holy shit, way to just drop that, Ace Attorney. Hello? However, the important part here is that her name was Polly.
Objection! Ha! A mere coincidence, that's all. My granddaughter has a dog she calls a Phoenix. Well, Mr. Phoenix, right? Does this make you my granddaughter's fiancé? She's only 7 years old.
That's such a fucking stretch, it's ridiculous. But alright, looks like we need something more. So, let's try our final option, asking the bird about the safe.
1228! 1228!
Okay, so what does that do for us? The answer is once again in the DL6 document. As it turns out, the date of the DL6 incident was, in fact, December 28th, meaning that Uncle set his safe number to the same date as the incident.
This is a mere coincidence, that is all.
However, two coincidences at the same time seems more like a pattern to me. Summon the caretaker of the boat shop. Immediately!
Von Karma tries to object, but Uncle once again takes the stand. The judge demands his name, something that Edgeworth has struggled to achieve from his witnesses all game, and finally, Uncle obliges.
My name is Yanni Yogi. 15 years ago, I served as a bailiff in this very court. Yes, it was me. I did it. They put me on the witness stand 15 years ago. Robert Hammond. He said I was mentally unsound. He told me it would make me innocent. So, I pretended to have brain damage. I was innocent, really, but he didn't believe me. We won the trial, but I lost everything. Then, this year, 15 years later, a package arrived. It was a letter and a pistol. It was a plan for me to take my revenge on the people who ruined my life. I didn't care who had sent it. Finally, a chance to have my revenge on Robert Hammond and Miles Edgeworth. I have no regrets.
But still, we have no idea why he wants revenge on Edgeworth, and he refuses to say. He is arrested, and it looks like this case is closed. The judge finds Edgeworth not guilty, and that's it. Right?
Objection!
Come on. Did you really think it was going to be that easy?
Your Honor, I object to your judgment. I'm not innocent at all. As we've heard, Yanni Yogi killed Robert Hammond in revenge. But revenge for what?
Oh no. Edgeworth is about to confess that he thinks he killed his dad. We can either object or let him speak, but either way, the judge determines that the court is obligated to hear him out. Sure, this is about an entirely different incident than the one we're in court for, but you know what? It's fine.
For 15 years, I've had a recurring dream. A nightmare. But now I know it wasn't a dream. Yanni Yogi wasn't the killer. From the distance of the shot, it wasn't suicide either. Everything was as clear as day. The murderer, the criminal in the DL6 incident. It was me. Your Honor, I confess my guilt. I am guilty for DL6, the statute of limitations of which ends today. The culprit is me.
The court is all in a tizzy. The judge doesn't know how to proceed. It is Von Karma that suggests that we hold the trial of Miles Edgeworth right now. Again. The judge decides to declare a recess to think, and for this moment, the court is adjourned. Edgeworth apologizes to Wright for wasting his time, and Gumshoe and Maya are both panicking, but Phoenix is not really paying attention. What's he doing?
Huh? Oh, I was just reading through the court records once more. I'm getting my case ready.
Your case? For what?
Huh? Isn't it obvious? I'm gonna prove that Miles Edgeworth is innocent. I'm sorry, Edgeworth, but I don't believe in your nightmare. It's just a dream. It's not real. The real fight is just beginning. I'll prove you're innocent. Trust me.
Let's fucking do it. Back in court, Edgeworth takes the stand. Von Karma, oddly out of character, wants us to do this one by the books, and Phoenix suspects that he knew this was going to happen all along. Edgeworth is asked to testify about the murder of his father, and here we go! This is the real, final boss fight.
That day I had gone to the courtroom to observe one of my father's trials. As we went to leave, an earthquake struck, trapping us in the elevator. My father and Mr. Yogi lost their composure and began to argue. Just then, something heavy fell at my feet. I picked it up and threw it at Mr. Yogi. I wanted them to stop fighting. A moment later, there was a single gunshot, then a scream. It was a terrible scream. I remember it to this day. That's all.
As if we haven't drugged that stupid file out enough, it's time to show Edgeworth that he wasn't responsible. In the DL6 case file, it clearly states that there were 2 gunshots. So why does Edgeworth only remember 1? We can look at the crime scene photo and see that one bullet is an Edgeworth Sr., and the other bullet is through the elevator door. Wright thinks that Edgeworth shot the door, and the other shot was done by the actual murderer. However, Von Karma has some news for Phoenix. There was absolutely nothing found at the scene of the crime, so where is the second bullet? Wright almost gives up. There's no way he can produce that second bullet, right? He raises one last feeble objection, but doesn't know what else to say. It must exist. The second bullet. Someone took it.
Wait, Your Honor. The second bullet. It existed.
Though he's really grasping, there's only one logical answer. The murderer must have taken it. But why? Why would they bother?
Had to take it. You're thinking too normal. Think crazy. Don't think why the bullet was taken. Think why the bullet had to be taken.
So with one last Hail Mary, I guess Hail Mia, Phoenix claims that the murderer had to take the bullet with them, because maybe the bullet hit the murderer.
Just saying, for instance, I mean, if it hit you, you would have to take it with you, wouldn't you? It's not like you could perform surgery right there, you know?
Hold on. Holy shit. Phoenix is actually making a lot of sense? There's just one problem. Neither Edgeworth nor Yogi were injured, which means the murderer must have come from outside the elevator. Edgeworth's bullet is the one that shot through the door, hitting the murderer, then the door opened, and he saw the men lying unconscious inside. But who would have the motive to see Edgeworth Sr. on the floor and decide to shoot him?
Hey, Nick, I just thought of something crazy. Remember what Grossberg said yesterday?
Grossberg told us that because of Edgeworth's dad, Von Karma took a several-month-long vacation. What if he didn't take it because of shock, but because he was injured and trying to hide it?
He was the murderer in the DL6 incident!
He was the man who shot Gregory Edgeworth.
It was Von Karma!
Wright obviously brings this new info to the court, because what else can they do? The judge and Edgeworth are shocked, but Von Karma brushes it off as nonsense. He asks them to prove it. Find the doctor that performed surgery on him. But Edgeworth assumes he probably didn't even have surgery in order to leave no trace. Hardcore as fuck. But that means that after all these years, the bullet is still in his shoulder, slowly giving him lead poisoning. But how on earth could we prove that? Oh, you've gotta be shitting me.
We could use this metal detector. Well, Von Karma, I'm gonna run this over you and see what we find.
Objection! I refuse.
You refuse. But refusing this means you acknowledge that the bullet is still inside of you? Order! Order! Order!
Eventually, Von Karma is bullied into accepting the test, and what do you know? The fucker beeps.
You. It was you.
But Von Karma remains cool as a cucumber. He claims that the bullet in his shoulder has nothing to do with DL6, and if it is, that's Wright's job to prove, not his. But Wright can't prove it because Von Karma stole all the evidence having to do with DL6, right? Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought you would have dug your own grave trying to convict Edgeworth? I can link that bullet in your shoulder to the DL6 incident. And here's my final proof.
Obviously, it's finally time to present the bullet that Maya saved for us.
This is the bullet used in the DL6 incident. This was taken from the heart of the victim, Mr. Gregory Edgeworth. The bullet is preserved quite nicely, with all the ballistic markings intact.
They could easily analyze the bullets to see if the markings match. It's over. Von Karma lets out a terrible scream, one that Edgeworth recognizes instantly. The scream he heard 15 years ago.
Edgeworth! Only you would dare defy me! You and your father are my curse. Your father shamed me with a penalty on my record, and you left a scar on my shoulder that would never fade. I'll bury you with my bare hands.
Okay, so in a nutshell, here's what happened. That day in court, the day of the earthquake, was the day that Edgeworth Sr. put a penalty on Von Karma's record. He was shocked and wandered about the darkened records room. He found his way back to the elevator, the lights were out because of the earthquake, and that was the moment when Edgeworth threw the gun, the bullet landing right in Von Karma's shoulder. The lights came back on, the door opened, and a pistol lay at Von Karma's feet.
It was destiny. In his last moments, Gregory Edgeworth was still unconscious. He died, never knowing who had shot him. Later, he spoke through a medium, blaming Mr. Yogi. He was fooled. It was the perfect crime.
Von Karma asked the judge to bring this to an end, and he obliges.
It appears that we have come a very long way to the end of the maze. 15 years later, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, you were innocent. You are innocent. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
Court is adjourned, and what a happy adjourning it is!
Nick! We did it! Did you see his face? He's pretending to be cool, but inside you crushed him, Nick! Crushed!
Edgeworth then approaches Wright.
So, it's finally over, Edgeworth.
Right, I'm not sure how to say this.
I know. Try thank you.
I see. Thank you, right.
He's not very good at this.
Amazing, pal. You pulled through, just like I thought you would. I'll never forget this. I owe you one, pal. And tonight, let's party. Dinner's on me. Yeah, my salary went down again a bit this month, but who cares?
Hey, y'all! Y'all were great in there! I knew you were innocent from the start, of course. Just look at you. You wouldn't stick your hand in the cookie jar even if no one was there.
We're going to conveniently forget that Lotta was literally the first witness on the stand.
Yo, Edgy! There you are. Here. A little gift from me in celebration.
So, the gift from Larry. It's got money in it. It's got $38 in it. Exactly. Yeah, so, you know how I said earlier that I didn't think we ever knew who took Edgeworth's lunch money? Yep, it was Larry. It was Larry the whole fucking time.
Right, you may not know this, but we used to have a saying back in school. When something smells, it's usually the butts.
Where does that leave me? I became a defense attorney because of what you two did.
Well, you always have been something of an insufferable emotionalist.
Yeah, and you get worked up easily too.
Death! The death sentence for both of you! Man, if only I had known, I'd have become a prosecutor.
Lotta takes a photo of the group, and they all go out to dinner and have a great time. All's well that ends well, right? Well, not quite. Phoenix wakes up the next morning only to find a letter from Maya.
Good morning, Nick. You were really impressive yesterday. Seeing you, it made me think about what I'm doing here. I'm a spirit medium in training, of course. I wanted to help Mr. Edgeworth too. I wanted to help you, but I couldn't. I was useless. So I've decided to go back to my training. I'll become a full-fledged spirit medium, for starters. I couldn't say it to your face, so I left this letter. Goodbye, Nick.
Of course Nick won't take that for an answer. He hurries down to the train station, hoping to catch her. Luckily, he does. Maya reiterates what she said in the letter, but Phoenix has something for her.
I never could have saved Edgeworth without your help.
Huh? I didn't do anything. All I did was wander around in a daze.
Sorry, but I have evidence that you helped.
Show her that fucking bullet. Do it. You know that's what we gotta do.
Von Karma was convinced he had taken all of the evidence pertaining to DL6. But you were the one who rescued the last piece of evidence we needed. This was the bullet that put an end to Von Karma, and you were the one who gave it to me.
Nick, I'll be back soon. I'm going to complete my training and come back.
Okay. I'll be waiting.
Of course you will. You can't run that office by yourself. You're hopeless.
And with that, Maya sets off to complete her training, and Wright wishes her the best of luck. And on that note, it's time for us to wish them goodbye as well. Ace Attorney is a really special game. It's got some flaws, to be sure. It was the very first time that anyone had made a game system this unique after all. But it's got so much heart, so much character, and my god, did Capcom really pull out all the stops on the gorgeous sprite work for this fucking visual novel. They really do add so much personality and spunk to every single character, regardless of how important they are. Beyond that, Ace Attorney tells a story about the truth, and about believing in the people you care about. In the first big case, Phoenix believes in Maya's innocence, and in the last, everyone believes in Edgeworth's. It's a story of connection, and of hope, and of bashing your head against a wall, but the judge keeps fucking penalizing me and I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do here! Ah! We'll see these goobers again. Obviously, we've still got a whole 2 games to cover after all, and then a DLC chapter. After that I will cover Rise from the Ashes, just not now. I'm sorry, I want to get to Francisca, my darling, my dearest, my love. But for now, it's time to say farewell. I'll see you all sooner than you expect for some time travel shenanigans, and we'll see Phoenix and the crew much sooner than we did last time. At least, I hope. Thanks for watching. Let's let all these silly little guys play us out. Yeah?
And so my story ends. Time to turn a new page and say goodbye to the novice defense attorney that I once was. Now, a new story begins, with the same old crazy cast of characters.
Don't think you've graduated yet, amateur.
Mr. Wright, perhaps you'd like to rethink that claim.
Yes, Your Honor. Uh-oh. I got a bad feeling about this. Objection!
Hey, pal. Mr. Edgeworth came down to the precinct to wish me a Happy New Year. Talk about a pleasant surprise. Then he hung his head low and went right back outside. Kind of like he was embarrassed or something. Strange, huh?
Huh? Nick? Nah, I haven't seen him lately. Who, me? I've been working at a cheese shop. That miss is a nice lady, but she's not exactly what you'd call a cheap date. Huh? Oh, she's in Hawaii right now, yeah.
Who, right? Yeah, I remember him. I hear he's busy lately. You know, not to ring my own bell, but I sort of taught him everything he knows. I'm sure he's grateful.
Ahem! Oh, it's you! Phoenix Wright? Ah, yes. Mia's understudy, was he not? I wonder how he's doing. Haven't seen him of late. Ah, the days of my youth. Like the scent of fresh lemon, you see.
Phoenix, right? Is he an actor? Well, I'm not buying it. You can't be a star with a name like Phoenix. Did you finally know they're putting out some of Hammer's old movies out on DVD in one of them box set thingies that you can buy nowadays and all? Not that I know what a DVD is or why they use 3-letter words for just about everything these days. How am I supposed to keep it all straight anyhow?
I'm pleased to announce The Pink Princess is a hit. I sure owe that Mr. Right a great deal. Oh, and I'm keeping my face out of the public eye until the show's over. I wouldn't want to ruin any kid's dreams, you know.
Right? Who's that? You want to talk? Let's talk Pink Princess. All right. But, you know, I snuck into the studio the other day, and I saw her, the one inside the Pink Princess suit. Ugh, what a dog! It was kind of a shock for a boy of my tender age. Yeah, I remember right. That lawyer guy. Huh? Me? I'm in training to become a paranormal photographer. You know that picture I took of everyone? Well, just behind them, there's a ghost. For real. Now that's talent. I'm gonna be famous.
Special thanks goes out to my Priest of the Hog and my Elder Hog Prophets, Adra, Chronoton, Death Kitty, Eshak 7, Grayman, Jonathan Hummel, Casey N. Moore, Madam Sir, Magil of the Shadows, Ventus Agri, and Xavier Pena. Thanks, guys.